Good morning and welcome to the second day of the CGTN Global Media Summit here in Chongqing. I am John Goodrich.
And I am Chloe Wei, CGTN reporter.
Wait, it's going to be another packed day today. We're going to have live coverage on this stream all day long. What are you looking forward to?
Yes, and actually today is the second day of this meeting, which will start pretty soon in a couple of minutes. And here, as you can see, this is the main venue of this meeting. And yesterday is the opening ceremony, and we have a very busy schedule.
We're so busy.
Yes, so busy.
So low. So many keynote speeches and panel discussions.
Yes.
Many from the people around us now who are starting to fill up the hall today.
Yes.
They'll be back talking on panels, but yesterday we had all sorts, from talking about amateur video to how new and traditional media are going to integrate to biased media coverage, a whole range of topics.
And and also the we media, are they challenging for us, and do we need to cooperate with them? And also they talk about and how to protect privacy on social media or something like that.
Yeah, one of the big issues was also fact-checking and fake news, how to ensure that amateur content, if it's used by traditional media, is verifiable and accurate.
And I also have panels discussing some phenomena right now. For example, why does some foreign media get it wrong in the coverage of certain countries? Is it a lack of access or a lack of understanding? So very, I think very sharp. Discuss.
Yeah, you were very interested in that one, I think.
Yes, and today is the second day of this CGTN Global Media Summit, and just to remind you, we are doing the live streaming of this whole summit, starting from yesterday and last to today. And also, if you want to know more about the keynotes, the highlights of what the guests are talking about, you can stay tuned on our CGTN official app and our account on Facebook, YouTube, and Weibo, and to stay tuned to get more details of that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you check out the app and the website and the social media platforms, you can see videos of live interviews and various other interviews that the digital team has been doing with participants, as well as coverage of the keynote speeches and written articles about all the details from yesterday, and they'll be the same today.
Yes, and today there are some guests who will deliver keynote speech. For example, the first one where you're gonna hear very soon is the prospect of video media in 5G era, delivered by Junichi Inabe, Deputy Director of Global IT Innovation of News Department from NHK. I think that's more of a technology topic.
I think today is very focused on technology, but that one is all about how new technology and faster networks through 5G is going to revolutionize video even more, how video is going to be even more influential in media coverage, and particularly things like short video, I guess.
Yes, and actually I think the technology is developing so fast. For example, we are now doing the live streaming actually using 4G signal, but 5G is just around the corner. Yeah,
and for you as a TV reporter, we're recording on mobile phones. This must be very strange for you.
Yes, you know, when I just start working maybe 7 years ago with just very big cameras, but now we can use very tiny phones or other devices, very convenient, very easy.
Yeah, and I think probably we'll be told if not, but the quality of the footage is probably just about as good as the big cameras that we traditionally use.
Yes.
I think. Do you want to check out the tea making ceremony?
Yeah, and actually this is the area outside this meeting hall, and there are some booths, the CGTN booths, and also there are some, for example, there is a little table to demonstrate the traditional tea culture here in Chongqing City. And just to remind you, can we have a seat here?
Oh yeah, wait, you take this one.
Okay. Chongqing City is, just to remind you, Chongqing City is in southwestern China, and it's an economic hub in the region, and it's one of the most populous cities in China. Do you know it has 30 million people in Chongqing? That's half of the population in Britain.
It's enormous, and also it's got an incredibly fast-growing economy.
Yeah.
And if you come here as a tourist site, it's fascinating. Such an unusual architecture and topography. Yeah. Everywhere it's up and down, up and down.
Yes. Because Chongqing is famous for its hilly landscape, ups, downs, I can give you an example. For example, you get out of the subway, you thought that is the ground floor, but actually it is maybe the 10th floor of another building.
Yeah, and then you go down and you come out.
Thank you.
50 meters below.
Okay, so this lady has prepared for us some tea. 这个是什么茶 ？What is this tea? 绿茶 ，white tea, white tea. So this is white tea. Okay, shall we have a taste?
Yeah, let's try.
It's a little bit sweet, or?
I was expecting it to be a bit bitter, but yeah, it's sweet, exactly, but very subtle.
And actually, China has a long history of having tea, just like the British people, right?
Yeah, different kind.
Different kind.
Yeah, but yeah, this used to be my morning routine too.
这个是重庆本地的茶吗？ It's the local tea of Chongqing.
这个是福建的。
It's from
福建福鼎的。
Okay, it's from Fujian province. It's southeast China, I think, in Fujian province. Have you ever been to Fujian province?
Not yet, but I will go.
Okay, maybe next
now
time.
Now I've tried the tea, I'll definitely go.
Yes, this is the second time that CGTN is holding such a global media summit here. And last year it was in Hainan Island, that is dubbed as China's Hawaii. Yeah, and this year we choose Chongqing. I think we choose such cities instead of Beijing or Shanghai is to give a chance to invite all the guests to have a look at different cities in China, to experience the different culture, I think.
Yeah, there's so many, as you said before, huge popular cities in China.
Yes.
But perhaps sometimes from an international audience get overlooked. People know about Beijing and Shanghai, but for example, you went to Sanya last year in Hainan, and this year Chongqing. Huge and fast developing cities which are going to be real engines of growth for China and potentially the world over the decades to come.
Okay. And just we finished the tea here, and we can have a look at the other booth. Okay, thank you.
Let's move on. And we should also mention that today we said there's going to be a focus on technology, but there's also going to be a panel discussion about blockchain in media.
Blockchain in media. How would that going to happen? I'm very curious about that because I don't know much about the blockchain. So I really need to hear some of the guests to introduce more of the information here.
Yeah, I think viewers can tune in to the live stream to see the panel discussion, and also the chair of that live stream, David Schlesinger from Tripod Advisors, will be joining me in the tea break straight after that discussion to try and explain to me, who I don't really understand blockchain very well.
Okay.
He's trying to explain to me what it is and how it's going to be used in media over the coming years.
Yes, and just to remind you, it's a preview of this live streaming, right? We're doing the live streaming on our CGTN official website and our Facebook and YouTube. And here is the preview of this meeting. And during the tea break, John, we will also hold another live streaming.
Yeah, so at about 10:15, I'll be talking to one person from CNN, Greg Bateman, and also David Schlesinger, who I mentioned before. We'll be talking about trends in China, both news and media. So yeah, tune in for that and send in your questions beforehand if you want me to put them to them.
Okay.
Want some coffee, Wei Wei?
Yeah. I'm already looking forward to that. This is the booth, our CGTN. Hello, 我们可以要一杯咖啡吗? Yeah. Can we have some coffee here? Yeah, they're preparing coffee for. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. You want this? Take this.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. 谢谢. Sorry.
Yeah, so this is the coffee stand. We can see CGTN's.
On the screen you can see the promo. Yeah, the promo of our CGTN. And for just give you a brief introduction of CGTN. CGTN is short for China Global Television Network. It's a multi-language and multi-platform international media organization of China's state broadcaster.
Yeah, so you're representing the TV side.
Yes.
I'm representing the digital side. On digital, you can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Weibo if you're in China, on WeChat, on TikTok.
Yeah.
Pretty much any social media
we do have an account on TikTok, really.
You can think of, we'll be there.
Yes. And actually, CGTN, we have 6 TV channels broadcasting in 5 different languages. That is the English, Russian, French, Arabic, and as well as Spanish. And actually, that is 5 working languages of the United Nations. And we are broadcasting in such language for 24 hours to over 170 countries. So you can follow us from anywhere of the world.
Yeah, absolutely anywhere. And this summit is kind of all about that. It's bringing people from all around the world to Chongqing to talk about the big issues in media, and to also, I think, create new partnerships between our company and between other companies around the world to try and improve our stories about the rest of the world and the rest of the world's stories about China.
And actually this year, we have, sorry, I put it here. This year we have invited 500 guests from different leading media groups, and as well as some think tanks or some institutes to share their views on very diversified topics. For example, the future of our media and facing the challenge of for example, the we media from our counterparts, from non-professionals.
We spoke a lot yesterday about the evolution of we media, of short amateur content, and how that can be united with more traditional media. I had interviews which you can watch also online with the head of Reuters video, and also the, AFP's global head-in-chief, who was telling me about how they use amateur content, how it can be useful as a complement to help their reporters get coverage before they actually have time to get to, say, a breaking news site.
Yes, and we talked about not only the content thing, we just talked about it today. There will be some topics and panels of the technology thing. And speaking of that, I want to share with you an example that I heard yesterday from the guests. He talked about the importance of the development of the technology. For example, he is shooting a football match, and he said traditionally we're using the standard definition or high definition. For example, this screen behind us is using the HD, the high definition. But he said that now we're developing to 4K. That's more clear. You can see more clear images on TV. So it's clear to the degree that you can see clearly. For example, you can see clearly a drop of sweat of a football player, or even his tiny changes of his face impression. But that will be much touching and moving to our audience.
I think that's a really good example of how media is embracing new technology, but also has to adapt to it. Because I guess when you're shooting a football match, then you have to change the story a little bit if you have that much detail. It changes how you commentate and all kinds of things. So everyone has to adapt as technology changes media.
Yeah, with higher definition, you can convey more details, more touching details to our audience. So technology is not just about technology. It's about conveying the impressions, conveying the feelings of a human.
Yeah, and really telling a good story, no matter what it be. A person's life in China, in Guangzhou maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I'm from Guangzou in South China.
Or a football match, or whatever it may be. We can use technology to better tell those stories and to tell them in more detail and with more feeling.
I'm looking forward to more details delivered by our guest today.
I hope so. Yeah, we've again another several interesting panels, and also some case studies which will be interesting.
We have workshops, case study.
So we can find out more about I think TikTok again they're talking about. TikTok is a big theme of this.
So how many of you guys who are watching our video using TikTok? You can leave your comments if you have any questions to us, or anything you want to know about this Global Media Summit and also the Video Media Forum. Today, you can leave your comments and ask us. Me and John will try to answer your questions, and we'll ask questions for you to our guests, right?
Yeah, if you pass on questions to us via our social media channels, we can ask our guests, and you can see the answers there, or we can try and reply to you ourselves on Weibo or on Twitter or wherever it may be.
Yeah, in the new era, I think the technology is making us busier. Because in the past, I don't have to do that, but now, it's part of our job.
To put such a burden on
you. No, it's not. I'm happy to. Because
it's true. It's all day long.
It's very delighted, to communicate with our viewers directly. Because in the past, it's not gonna happen because I'm a TV reporter. I cannot see the instant reaction of our viewers. But now it's possible.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the great things about social media, that it brings more interaction into play. You can learn, I guess, from people on the ground and wherever you are covering. And they can learn from you, and you can have more of a dialogue.
Yeah, and just to remind you, before you're leaving any comments, please like us on Facebook.
Yes, join our 60-odd million followers on Facebook. You can join them and see why they're all there.
Yes, and we're broadcasting this global media forum to across the world. You can see from the live streaming on the highlights and keynotes of the guests from any corner of the world.
Yeah, there are guests from all over the world here. You'll probably see representatives from your country, no matter where you are. So don't forget to keep on tuning in, and also check back, as we said earlier, check back on our app, particularly because we have full coverage of yesterday's events with interviews, videos, and news articles.
Okay, and this forum, the CGTN Global Media Forum, is held in Chongqing, and it's going to start pretty soon, so please stay tuned, and later we will give you the live signal of what is going inside the main venues. Please stay tuned.
Wei, is there anything that you've particularly seen at the summit which has made you think differently, changed your mind about anything?
Well, I want to keep it a secret, and please let the viewers see themselves.
Okay, they can make up their own minds.
Okay, please stay tuned. Thank you.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Liu Xin. I'm host of The Point with Liu Xin on CGTN. It's my great honor to be with you again on the second day of the second CGTN Global Media Summit and the 8th CCTV Plus Video Media Forum. Yesterday, we had a full day. We witnessed the launch of the Global Communicative Ecology Report 2018. We also talked about ways how media can cooperate and build a constructive environment for the media's sustainable development. It was being carried live, as I said, on different platforms such as Weibo, such as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. As the same thing we're going to do today, it is going to be live streamed on all of these channels. The handle is CGTN or CGTN Official, and the hashtag is CGTN Media Summit or VMF 2018. I was told an anecdote yesterday at the end of the day that our live streaming on Weibo was actually interrupted for a very special reason, because a couple of actor and actress decided to post their wedding certificate at the same moment that the discussion was going on. And guess what happened? The Weibo system just crashed because so many people was viewing that posting. In a moment, I saw a screenshot. They got 3.68 million thumbs up. Can you imagine what kind of an idea that is? So no wonder our very humble discussions were being overshadowed, but I hope that's not going to happen today. And fittingly, we're going to talk about how we can better employ cutting-edge technology to propel the development of the media industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our first keynote speaker today. And he's going to talk about the 5G era with high-speed network transmission, bringing us new changes to users and the media industry ourselves. How can we prepare ourselves for the 5G era and bring new experiences to our users? Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome Kenichi Inabe, Deputy Director of Global IT Innovation at the News Department of NHK, to tell us about the prospect of video media in the 5G era.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for inviting me to this great forum with great hospitality. I'm really thankful to CGTN and CCTV Plus. Thank you very much. So let's start today's forum with 5G presentation. So now let me introduce myself briefly. Hello, I'm Genichi Inabe. I work in the video center of the news department at NHK, which is Japan's public broadcaster. I am mostly involved in creating feeds and systems for transmitting video footage from outside of Japan. We are seeking out the possibilities of using 5G in the future. Today, I'd like to talk about the progress being made with 5G in Japan and how NHK is likely to use it. So let's briefly review what 5G can do. Even though I'm sure you've already heard about this many times, there are three things which makes 5G so outstanding. It's very high speed, it has very low latency, and it has massive simultaneous connectivity. This photo showing a monitor was taken in September last year during a visit to the 5G research lab at the Japanese telecom firm NTT Docomo. I got to see a bit rate of 14.8 gigabps, which is almost the same as that for optical fiber. It is a really different dimension in communication, enabling you to download a 2K video in an instant, and even 8K ultra high definition images with no stress. Oh, sorry. So please play the video. Yeah. So this lab also provided demos of augmented reality and a self-driving car. What you are seeing is a self-driving car. The car didn't have anyone in the driver's seat. It was controlled via 5G. Seeing this latest research made me feel that 5G will transform society, like in a medical area and in a wide range of other fields. So in Japan, the government and the private sector are working together and giving active consideration to proving tests, uniform international standards, and frequency allocation, with hopes of using 5G when Tokyo hosts the Olympic Games in 2020. Last week, there was some exciting news. Japan's 3 big mobile phone companies said that they will start rolling out 5G services from 2019, 1 year ahead of schedule. This should be a boost for the start of service in 2020. So during this time, NHK has been carrying out proving tests with telecom firms. Last year, we conducted mobile 8K transmission tests with Japanese big telecom firm KDDI. We put an 8K camera on a vehicle, and the image taken by the camera were relayed real-time via 5G to a building some distance away. We wanted to see whether these images could be transmitted from a vehicle traveling along actual roads at a speed of 20 kilometers per hour. The tests were carried out in various conditions, such as in the placement of antennas, because 5G signals are susceptible to interference from obstacles like buildings and trees. I'm sorry, I can't give you details figure here because of the confidentiality, but we did find that 8K images can be transmitted real-time in certain environments without any freezing of images or packet loss. So it is possible to transmit 8K images via 5G in a mobile environment, which means, for example, we should be able to provide live 8K transmission of the marathon in the 2020 Olympics. These proving tests were able to reveal the possibilities. 5G is likely to enable us to achieving things regarded as impossible until now with television. The next example is called 30K ultra-high definition viewings of works of art. An NHK affiliate company has helped developing this test. So please play the video. Let me go back to the previous slide. Please play the video. Okay. Yeah, what you are seeing is the 30K ultra high definition images taken by NHK affiliate. You can use a tablet to enlarge the painting. You can get a very detailed close-up, giving you a very good idea of the texture of an oil painting. It's no different from seeing the actual art of work, but you don't have to go to a museum, or you can get an experience above and beyond that. 5G and the vast amount of 30K data will enable us to enjoy such things in a stress-free manner at home, institution of learning, and so on. As many types of content becomes available by 5G, the way we enjoy the content will vary. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. There are growing possibility for applying 5G in disaster reporting as well. Japan is particularly susceptible to natural disasters, such as earthquake, tsunami, typhoons, and volcanic eruption, and so on. It is an urgent task to use technology to limit the damage. 5G could be used in drone, for example. At present, it's only possible to operate a drone wirelessly within a range of about 1 kilometer, given the short range of the signal. However, a drone relying on a 5G mobile network should be able to go anywhere beyond the base station antennas. Moreover, 5G should enable the real-time transmission of 4K high-definition images. It should be able to send more detailed images of a disaster site, which had been impossible to get at until now. NHK also has more than 700 remotely operated cameras across Japan. A 5G network could allow them to be replaced with 4K or other high-definition cameras that could provide TV viewers with more realistic images of a volcanic eruption, torrential rain, and so on. And with 5G-powered high-quality remote camera, artificial intelligence monitoring could be available. For example, if unusual things like landslides or flooding are captured by the high-resolution camera, AI can detect those accidents and issue an alert. This will enable us to start disaster reporting faster than before. And moreover, 5G-driven IoT should enable us to acquire more effective big data. NHK uses a device called NMAPS, N-M-A-P-S, which generates graphics from the big data obtained from the Japan Meteorological Agency. Here's a brief video about NMAPS. Please play the video.
On March 11, 2011, the Great East Japan earthquake generated an unprecedented amount of data. How did NHK tackle the project of analyzing such a vast amount of disaster big data? Most crucial was the collection of big data. We persuaded company leaders to share with us massive amounts of information they had kept to themselves. The next stage was to visualize big data. First, journalists skimmed the data and decided which pieces were to be focused on. Engineers then made graphic images so the data could be grasped at a single glance. One journalist, one coder, and one designer teamed up for the project and collaborated for 3 months to create an application.
In that regard, NHK has started to make use of what's called big data. It's been pouring through an enormous amount of information accumulated during the Great East Japan earthquake to find more effective ways to reduce damage from disasters. For weather, big data can generate graphics of blowing winds and pouring rains. NHK uses them to better inform the public of the risk of storms and landslides.
So this is about Nmaps we are using at NHK. So now Nmaps can only collect big data in the form of strings of characters. However, if 5G can make it possible to collect data in the form of video and audio from any place, Nmaps will develop further in terms of data journalism, and it should also help in disaster mitigation. NHK, as Japan's sole public broadcaster, has a mission to mitigate the damage from disasters by providing information in a speedy manner when disaster strikes. 5G is likely to be very effective in disaster reporting. It could be an infrastructure for saving lives. Of course, not everything about 5G is perfect. There are still also various issues with it. First, the signals only have a very short range at present because of the use of high frequencies makes them susceptible to becoming weaker. And the security of 5G network is another potential risk. Although it's not much of an issue at present, we seriously need to seek out measures for creating robust and secure networks. I believe that these technical issues will be resolved, but we actively need to come up with ideas for using 5G to give us the motivation to speed up this process. So this diagram shows the developments in telecommunications so far. Networks have also developed in terms of the content they can handle, such as text, pictures, movies. However, the shift from 4G to 5G is not only an updating of telecom standards. 5G should be regarded as a whole new infrastructure for achieving new generation ideas. TV broadcasters like NHK must change as a matter of course in the 5G era. 5G is likely to change the shape of broadcasting. So NHK will commence ultra-high-definition TV broadcasts in December this year, 4K and 8K channels. Homes that want to tune into these broadcasts will need an expensive dish antennas and tuner for picking up the signals relayed by satellite. But the 5G era could make the following things possible with the equipment-related issue. If the ultra-high-definition TV data can be streamed directly via 5G mobile telecommunications, it could allow for wireless TV sets and enable to view it anywhere in the house. The technology could also easily handle on-demand requirements. And production could also become smarter. Efficient, centralized program production relying on IP-rooted remote production is becoming a global trend in TV industry. 5G could also make this style wireless, and we could also take advantages of the very low latency to accelerate this trend for remote production. And when it comes to the content that is being produced, we are likely to see more in the way of interactive content using virtual reality. The arrival of real-time 8K virtual reality could change the style of broadcasting, making it more of an interactive rather than viewing experience. So let me wrap up. Imagining of the 5G future and forums like this for discussing our dreams should make 5G service happen sooner. I hope this forum will enable us to think up new ideas for using 5G, for making the future of video even more exciting. Thank you for kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gennady Inakbe. Thank you. Well, China is also speeding ahead on the development of 5G services and standard setting. So I'm sure in the future there should be boundless opportunities to cooperate between Chinese operators, Japanese companies, and so on and so forth. That is why we have prepared this workshop that provides a kind of platform to build personal understanding and trust among media counterparts. So if you're interested, the workshop is going on. So please find your partners, potential partners in CGTN by writing to CGTN International at cctv.com or finding a CGTN staff and book a one-on-one session for 30 minutes to meet our producers, anybody you want to meet, and potentially some deal could emerge from these first encounters. So ladies and gentlemen, grab the opportunity and do that. Next, let's move on to our last but not least panel discussions, one of the 5 during this year's summit. And as we are talking about technology, let's move along the same vein and talk about blockchain. As an emerging technology, blockchain is playing an increasingly important role in the monetary and financial sector, but what about in the media? It is supposed to be decentralized, secure, stable. It reduces internal costs but improves work efficiency. How is it going to boost the development of the media industry? Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome my colleague, Mr. David Schlesinger. You'll be introducing your panelists.
I will introduce the panel. Okay. Let's bring them up, please. Let's have Jacobo Tolmessia, the founder of Hubi. Started as a location-based news aggregator and now is a blockchain powerhouse based in Norway. Matei Mehoko, the founder of Decent. He's a blockchain and crypto pioneer in China. Yangming Lu, an architect from Bioencyclopedia. Zhang Yifeng from Zhongchao Credit Card Development and Hangzhou Blockchain Technical Research, who is an expert on digital currency. And Wang Xintao, Vice President of Computer World Media. Thank you all very much. So blockchain is one of the most exciting, but also one of the most hyped phenomena recently. From its application in finance, media, entertainment, medicine, even agriculture, every week seems to bring new reports of startups and even more established companies rushing to market. But let's be honest, how many people in this room actually know what blockchain is? Probably many of you have heard about it. Some of you have read about it. But how many actually feel confident that you understand blockchain? So let's start with the basics. Maybe Jacobo, you could start. In the most basic terms, what is blockchain and why should people in this room care?
Sure. Thank you, David, and thank you for the invitation. So blockchain, as the most basic piece of knowledge would be, it is an infrastructure piece of software. So like you would have a database to store data, you could have a blockchain to store all that kind of data for different purposes. So it is not an end, it is a mean to an end. So, and then on top of a blockchain, you can implement multiple different type of solutions. And of course, cryptocurrencies are the most well-known ones and is probably the first type of solutions you can implement. And then on top of that, you could also implement things like digital assets, which we will talk about in a minute. But think about blockchain as an infrastructure piece of software. That's what it is.
Maybe Wang Xintao, when you are trying to write about it, no? All right. I'll go to Matei. Well, would you like to talk about why you got involved with it in China in the first place?
So many thanks for the invitation, first of all, for giving me the opportunity to speak at this wonderful media summit here in Chongqing. So I've been involved with blockchain technology for more than 8 years. As of today, I have done some of the pioneering work in the field, and which basically finished as a content distribution platform. I would say one of the very first digital content distribution platform in the world. And basically the reason I got involved with blockchain is that I found it amazing as a decentralized technology that can guarantee immutability of all the records that can ever happen. So concerning comparing this to the internet in 1995 or 1996, this is something very, very similar. And when we look at the internet in 1995, no one has ever known exactly that the smartphones would come, or the 3G or 4G or 5G would come. So we are in a similar situation now with blockchain. We are still at the very beginning, and this technology has a great future.
So that's, I think, really interesting to point to the fact that we're at such an early stage. Nobody really knows how it's going to develop. So, Yangming Lu, when you look from maybe the Baidu perspective, what should you be paying attention to? What do you care about when you think about blockchain, and how do you think it might be useful to you?
非常很荣幸啊，非常荣幸能被受到邀请参加这样的一个论坛。
It's my great honor to get invited to this forum, and I'm touched by your introduction because blockchain is indeed amazing. It's emerging, it's new to most of Chinese people. I myself have 10 years experience in internet industry. Last year, 2017, was a turning point. Starting from 2017, every product manager was talking about blockchain. That is quite significant. I think to say it in a large sense, it's very much like internet 10 years ago. Everybody is so looking forward to it. And personally, I'm in charge of Baidu Encyclopedia product. So for people like me, I think blockchain is great. It can solve a lot of design issues for us because the information can be shaped, so it can be adopted in IP rights protection and to maintain the authenticity of the content of Baidu Encyclopedia. We already have some projects going on with blockchain as an aid. So what's the use to Baidu? You asked this question. I'm happy to introduce to you. We have a project called Baidu Tattoo. It's about image processing. We try to use blockchain to protect the rights of the images, and it's traceable. We will store the information of the image in blockchain. So from the very origin or beginning of the image, we can initiate protection efforts. And also we combine the blockchain, AI technology, and data processing technology in this project, so we can compare the information of the image against the information of other images available on the internet. So in case of the IP rights being invaded by others, we can actually take legal actions, and all the claims can be filed online. So this is a very good case to demonstrate the application of blockchain. Talking about Baidu Encyclopedia, it is the largest in China, and every day we receive 100 million users, and we have more than 20 million entries available on the internet, and every day there will be a lot of updates going on. It's a huge responsibility for Baidu to guarantee the authenticity, so we can use of blockchain to realize that. We upgraded our encyclopedia system to make sure that the features, the attributes of each version of the entry can be maintained and stored on the internet. So it is quite controllable. We can actually guarantee the authenticity of the entries in this way. So it's happening on real-time basis nowadays, and it's the application of blockchain. We benefit a lot from blockchain. That's what I want to share with you.
Maybe Zhang Yifeng, I'll turn to you next, because your background is the cryptocurrency and the currency side of blockchain technology. How would you move from the cryptocurrency side to the more media applications?
好的，谢谢啊，我是来自于中超的啊，这个大家都知道。 那么这家企业这个主要是
One company, we all know that the company is engaged primarily in printing RMB money. So we started our efforts in 2015 about blockchain being used in currency technology, and we also expanded our efforts in researching into blockchain. We now see blockchain can be applied in all aspects of our daily life. Last year, we started preparation for the launch of the blockchain platform in March this year. It is blockchain registry open platform. Such a platform can enable the technology of blockchain to be used not only in financial sector. We can actually use it as a platform to realize the storage function and to enable transparency in all the sectors, not only media, but also other social activities. So today, I would like to share with you a case last month. We successfully used our platform in judicial sector for bankruptcy case investigation. So we assist the judges and the courts. Yesterday, our second case of bankruptcy was solved on this platform. So bankruptcy cases can actually be handled by this platform, and it's trustworthy, it's transparent. The process can be overlooked by, can be overseen by the public. I believe Xintao also has some experience in this regard. So maybe later Xintao can share with us something about IP rights protection. Thank you.
I think that'd be a very good idea. Wang Xintao, would you like to talk about that, your experience using it in copyright protection?
Before I start, let me introduce my company in order to set the tune. Our company was initiated by a US company and also Ministry of Information Technology and Internet. We pay attention to blockchain because we would like to understand the changes one industry is going through, especially internet industry and the manufacturing industry. We are facing the upgrading of the entire industry. So in this case, we would like to see new technology to support such transformation. Based on that, we started paying attention to blockchain. I think blockchain has several features which can meet the basic needs of the transformation of the industry. I think a blockchain is the infrastructure in the future. Two basics. One is database. The other is about value-added service and process. but eventually it's all about data. We talk about IP rights, but the core of IP rights is also data. Data is like blood of a person. It's the origin of value. When we do industrial work, we would always think about how to evaluate data, how to realize transactions based on data. What is the subject of the transaction and how to evaluate the data, how to realize the transaction. So we pay attention to blockchain, especially for its application in this regard.
Thanks very much. Hakawami, I think we should talk a little bit about the journey that you have taken. You started with an interesting but fairly traditional content distribution company, and now you've made a pivot into becoming a blockchain company. Why did you do that, and what have been the major obstacles? Other people in the audience in media companies, if they make a similar journey into experimenting with blockchain, what are the things that they have to be prepared to learn and overcome?
Well, very good question. We have actually made multiple pivots, I'm afraid. So we started as a location-based news aggregator many years ago. We had a fair amount of success working with companies like Mozilla, Telenor, Telefonica, Alcatel, Panasonic, CTE. We almost accidentally ended up working as a proxy for content, whereby we were obtaining content from specific publications, we repackage it, and then provide it to these other companies to distribute it further. The common denominator was that these other companies were coming from either telcos or OEMs, and they wanted to build value-added services on top of their existing systems. We spent about 5 years doing that work, and we learned a lot about the pain points of both sides of the industry, content creators and distributors. And at some point, approximately 2 years ago, we wanted to go to the next level, and therefore we started looking at technologies that could help us to solve those problems. Then blockchain came up. We did a fair amount of due diligence on how to use it, how it could help us to solve those problems. And last year we decided to build a decentralized content marketplace, whereby we would be removing ourselves from the equation, and we would replace ourselves with a content marketplace that was completely decentralized. Because of the existing partners we had and the number of users we provide service to, we knew that scaling was going to be kind of the Achilles tendon, right? Because blockchain, although it is a beautiful piece of software, it is highly complex and has got some very serious inherited problems when it comes down to scalability. So mathematically speaking, it is rather complex, right? I'm sure there's some mathematicians will say that it is possible, because with mathematics pretty much everything is possible, but reality is slightly different. So 2 months into that journey of building the decentralized content marketplace, we immediately realized that we had to pause that work and focus instead in building a scaling protocol. So everybody in the panel has been speaking about blockchain. One thing to note about blockchain is that as an infrastructure piece of software, you have multiple types of blockchains. So you have the Bitcoin blockchain, you have the Ethereum blockchain. These two, in this case, are public blockchains. And you can also have a private blockchain. So the platform where we're developing, it is a public blockchain, which is the Ethereum blockchain, and currently supports about 50 transactions per second worldwide. So if you would have millions of users,
maybe not even that.
I was being generous, yeah. Currently our API, it does millions of transactions per day. So there's a clear disconnect in there. So that was the main reason why we had to pause all the work we were doing around the content marketplace and instead focus on solving that other problem. At the end of the day, it's an engineering mentality. You have a problem, you want to fix it. So 3 months ago, we deployed an Ethereum protocol, which solves 2 basic problems of the Ethereum blockchain. One of them is the speed of transactions per second, and the other one is the cost of those transactions. And, we will be deploying it at the end of this month to what is called the mainnet, which is equivalent to production. And the beautiful thing about the protocol itself is that it's very well suited for any commercial applications that would like to be built on top of it. And that is a big, big, big deal. Because I know the last year we have been hearing a lot about ICOs. We have been hearing about hypothetically beautiful solutions people would like to build on top of the blockchain. But reality is that the vast majority, if not all of those companies, will be facing the same issue. So you would like to build a product, but unfortunately, the underlying technology is not ready for it. So yeah, that has been our journey, and to say the least, has been interesting.
You don't have many gray hairs yet.
I do, trust me.
So technology and the overcoming the obstacles of scaling is, of course, one problem. Mate, I'd like to ask you about the other issue, which is that countries are just beginning to figure out what kind of regulation to put around the blockchain. And certainly China first was very open, then started restricting ICOs very severely, yet still it wants to be a leader in innovation in blockchain. How has that been to navigate, and where do you see China's main strengths in terms of innovation in the blockchain area?
So excellent question. Thank you. I would probably start with the regulation part of it. I started with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in 2010 when it was highly unregulated all over the world. So I have done some Bitcoin mining, then we switched to other kind of cryptocurrencies, and then I started to develop own blockchain protocol. So in early 2013, there was kind of the first spark of regulation, stemming from Germany. Actually, that Germany started to regulate cryptocurrencies somehow. That basically a company was able to invoice in Bitcoin. So there were a lot of people who moved to Germany, who started to incorporate in Germany because they were able to accept cryptocurrencies. But so 2013, 2014, 2015, everyone talked just about cryptocurrencies. But let's say in mid-2015, people started really to talk about blockchain because they started to realize the potential blockchain technology brings into the business, and all the innovations besides the fact of having a cryptocurrency or not. So if we currently look at probably the first or one of the first ICOs in the world, which was the Ethereum ICO, which started in July 2014. So Ethereum was basically regulated as a foundation and GmbH, so private limited company in Switzerland, in Canton Zug, in the Crypto Valley, so-called Crypto Valley. So Switzerland was one of the first countries which started to regulate blockchain protocols. And I would like to mention that in 2014, the Ethereum ICO was even not called ICO; it was called a crowd sale. Then there were some other, blockchain projects that copied, this model, and they have done it in Switzerland. And kind of Singapore started to provide a sandbox for blockchain projects, so it was very easy to crowdfund, your own blockchain project in Singapore. And there is also Hong Kong, which came with some kind of innovation, and Hong Kong is, SAR of China. So I would say there is a lot of innovation happening in China. But let's get back to China now. In 2017, in summer, there was a huge wave of ICOs in China, in mainland China itself. And until the 4th of September 2017, when the government started somehow to regulate that, then the huge wave stopped, and I think the companies started to focus more on the innovation itself rather than the hype. So I believe this move was well thought beforehand. And it is something that can really stem the innovation. Because if you look at the situation worldwide, the global situation, the global, let's say, field of blockchain application, we can see that there is a lot of noise in there. About 90% of everything in this field is just about noise. People are the projects, the companies that raise hundreds of millions of dollars or even billions of dollars, they are, claiming what they are going to do, but it's very hard to see the actual results. Where can one do the due diligence? Where can someone, verify that? And then, my colleague, my right-hand side, mentioned that basically Ethereum has something like 15 or maybe 12, transactions per second. This is not something viable for the global media industry. So for example, our own solution, I'm from the engineering, I have engineering background, and we have about 130 people in the company, including China, across the world, and I basically push them to focus on the actual delivery. So we currently have about 2,100 transactions per second, with a transaction fee which is less than 1 cent US dollar worldwide and 5 seconds. And the settlement time of the transaction is 5 seconds worldwide. So this is just one of the examples how we are focusing on the actual innovation on the delivery. And basically we can compare this situation to the dot-com bubble in at the end of 1990s, 1999, maybe 2000. There was also a lot of noise, and there were a lot of companies which went public, which went IPO, such as maybe Webvan in the US, right, building the worldwide or the pan-US network of grocery deliveries, and they went IPO before launching the product, and they went also bankrupt before launching the product. So, but there are companies that overcame this era. So maybe you heard about Amazon, and so on, which was maybe not the biggest, company at that time, or the most famous one, or the one raising the most money, but they focus on the viable business model, including the new technology in e-commerce, and the long-time delivery. So they focus on survival, right? And I think this is something that China should do. The Chinese companies, the Chinese blockchain companies, and Chinese media companies should do. Look at it from the long-term point of view, right? Because I don't think it is possible to achieve great success very, very fast, right? Because the technology is developing itself on an ongoing pace, and we had a very interesting point over here that blockchain technology has been built by mathematicians, and it's stemming from academia and not really from engineering field, and we are not at the commercial viability, at 100% commercial viability yet. I think this is something that will come next year, and I believe this is something that China should focus on.
Great. Well, I'd like maybe Zhang Yifeng to pick up on that point, because he was talking about how there were centers first in Germany, then Switzerland, then Singapore. Now a lot of people are talking about Malta, but you're based in Hangzhou, and I know that Hangzhou is a major center for innovation within China. A lot of small companies are starting there, both in blockchain and short video, and lots of experimentation. Can you talk a little bit about the innovation atmosphere and how blockchain fits into that?
好的，谢谢啊。其实我原则上
Thank you very much. In principle, I completely agree with what Mathieu has spoken of in relation to blockchain. I believe blockchain came to our attention only within a short period of time, which means now it is confronted with a lot of difficulties, in particular technological difficulties. At present, blockchain technology is still in a rather embryonic stage in terms of the ability to address real problems, or in other words, it cannot really be used in support of commercial application. The second concern is over privacy. As we all know, blockchain technology requires all the data to be completely open, but in the real world, a lot of application requires tiered control and management of data. That means we need new technologies in relation to not just encryption but also other technologies. This is very important. Under the circumstances, if we do need to deliver a conclusion on blockchain technology, then my conclusion is the technology has not been mature enough to support a scaled commercial application. Over the past several years, I understand a lot of companies have rushed into this field, but at the same time, a lot of money, a lot of companies, a lot of individuals, while the projects they have been working on, many of them failed. That is mainly because the technology basis is not quite there yet, which is why now, whether it's China or other countries in the world, their regulatory policy in relation to blockchain technology is also vastly different. Some countries may be more open, other countries may be tougher. That mainly depends on where the technology is in a particular country. If there's more bubble, then we need to squeeze it, but there's less bubble, the environment can be more open. Overall, I believe now all countries are adopting a similar attitude towards blockchain technology, in the sense that they're all encouraging technological innovation because honestly the value is there, but on the other hand, financing in relation to blockchain technology, when it comes to this, governments all over the world are getting more prudent. You just spoke of ICO. In fact, according to the definition from the Switzerland, there are different types of ICOs. Some is for payment, some is for utility, and others is mainly used for securities tokens. But when it comes to securities token, in fact, all governments around the world have been very, very cautious. So, if we're working on so overall, I believe technologically the government is very supportive. But at the same time, the government does want to prevent technology-related fraudulent activities for fear of how it may affect the sound, sustainable development of blockchain technology. And I think Beijing, Hangzhou, Shanghai, and Shenzhen are pioneers in the fields of blockchain technology, and I'm very happy to see that most of the companies in the city of Hangzhou have focused their energy on technological development.
So far, I think what's lacking in Hangzhou is the technology advancement and also the engineering level. Because it's developing so fast, I think still we have a lot to do to commercialize it. So in the future, I hope money going into blockchain, no matter it's from institutions or individuals, can focus itself on technology and the value of technology. Do not do a lot more applications when it's not mature. Thank you.
If I'm allowed, very quickly, I very much agree with the 2 points mentioned. One of them is around regulation, the other one is around the maturity of the technology itself. But there is yet another third one, which is also paramount, which has got to do with the real valuable applications where you can use blockchain. Because unfortunately, the technology world has been driven by fashions. Right? So you have a new buzzword and everybody wants to use it, irrespective of what it might imply or what you might be able to use it for. So a lot of the ICOs, a lot of projects we have seen that have been born out of thin air, they have...
So let's bring it directly back to media. So in the 5G presentation we just had, we saw some actual practical applications about how it could be used in the media world, whether it is looking at photographs or analyzing big data or transmitting from Marathon. In the media world, what are the practical applications that you see?
Well, in the media world, because the technology itself and the use cases are still very, very young, most of them, we foresee 2 immediate ones. One of them is related to micropayments. So the internet historically talked about micropayments, but it hasn't been honored. So you really do not have such a solution.
So paying 1 or 2 cents per article that you see.
You could pay
for rights for video.
You could make a pick-up payment. So 0 to the -15th of a currency, for example. With that in place, it means that you can explore new business models around it. Business models that, in the case of media, might very well rely less on ads, which we know immediately will have an impact on the quality of the experience and engagement of the user. Right? That is one of them. The other one would be tokenization of a specific digital assets to be able to trace the lifespan of that asset, either video, image.
So sort of like the
encyclopedia, for example.
Encyclopedia, yes.
So you could do many things around that. I do believe those would be the two first immediate set of solutions we will see. The protocol we have built, it is built from the ground up, thinking about micropayments, for example. So, and we're currently speaking to a fair amount of companies to implement solutions, like, for example, a federated paywall. Imagine you're very well familiarized with paywalls and with the problems that implies. People is not very keen on subscribing and paying $10 a month to be able to use a service that they don't know if they're going to read one article or 100 articles this coming month. So you can implement services that are completely transparent to the user, and then you are paying a very, very small amount of money as you go, right? Instead of having to commit upfront for the payment. So I think that around monetization, that is where we will see the first use cases for media, and more specifically around micropayments.
So monetization, IP rights, as you described. Other issues that people see will be really directly affecting media in the first instance?
I would, if I could comment, I would put this more into the geographic field. So one of the applications we are focusing at is mobile games and apps distribution for emerging markets. So we currently build a JV with a partner who has more than 500 million MAU, and basically we are talking about cheap Android phones, which are deployed in countries such as Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, India, Indonesia, and so on. So this whole market has about 2 billion people, and most of them are unbanked. So basically what we are up to is to enable the unbanked people to purchase digital content using micropayments on a blockchain. So the regulation in that field, unlike in other countries for the payment processing, is not as mature as probably in Europe or US, or maybe also in China. So it's kind of a blue ocean strategy for us to get our app store pre-installed on the various phones from various mobile phones manufacturers. So maybe I can mention some brands such as Vivo, Oppo, Xiaomi. Many of them are Chinese, and to build a distribution network for the blockchain tokens in there. So we are launching the product at the end of this month. We are starting in Malaysia, and we will span further into Indonesia. And basically, concerning the tokens, the current situation is that people are unbanked, and they do not have a Visa or MasterCard or UnionPay card or something like this, and they are unable to purchase content through the store. Right? There are some existing solutions such as scratch cards or SMS payments, but those solutions take 30 to 60% in fees. So from the content producer to the content consumer, there is about 30 to 60% lost. It goes to the intermediaries in between. And we are kind of trying to eliminate this with blockchain and make this fee much lower. So we can get probably at around 10 to 20%. So it's commercially viable, and there is more content. So there are new blue ocean distribution channels for the content producers. So I'm talking about the mobile apps producers and mobile games producers, and the more valuable content for the mobile phone users. And I have to say that this market did not exist 5 years ago, really. But the penetration of LTE smartphones, or maybe soon 5G smartphones in emerging markets in Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America is currently huge, and it's increasing. And I believe it's already dominated by Chinese brands as of today.
That's very interesting. Yang Minglu, I'd like to talk to you just a little bit about how big companies
work with this? Because you come from Baidu, one of the world's largest companies, one of China's largest companies. But a lot of the things that we hear about in terms of blockchain are about startups and someone with one idea pushing it forward and very nimbly, very quickly. How do you work with innovation, and how can something like blockchain actually become a main part of a big company when it's very hard sometimes to change a big company's direction?
Thank you, David, for your questions. I listened to the sharing of the experts on application. You talk about macro payments, but coming back to the media world, which is the topic for today, and talking about Baidu and startups. The first thing jumped into my head is that blockchain is immature in terms of regulation, in terms of application, but we can venture a guess for the applications it can realize in the future for media world. And it goes not only for big companies like Baidu, but also startups and small companies. The first one is IP rights protection, not only for image, for video, but also for other content. Another thing is that we have explosive amount of content available on the internet, but we do not know what is the value of the content. It's the big concern of Baidu, because we deal with large amounts of content, and we are a search engine. For video platforms, how do we evaluate them? We normally look at the views, we look at the reposts, the likes, but we have different algorithms to calculate the value of the video. For users, it's very difficult for them to evaluate the content. Maybe we can make use of blockchain system, so every individual can participate in this valuation and grading system. It's a very big and important direction going forward. With such a system, we can not only assist the users in judging what is good content, what is bad content. The other thing is that we can actually disrupt the advertising landscape. For advertisers, we can try to build better platforms, and for the corporates, they can choose which platform is better to advertise. So this is the next topic we may explore. Authenticity of content. There can be also application. If you post something on the internet, it can be fake, it can be authentic, and the cost is very low for you to disseminate rumors. You don't have to show any responsibility, so everybody can just do that. But with blockchain, we can make sure the content will be held accountable by the persons release that on the internet. Cost will be increased on this front. Baidu is a content provider, so we pay huge attention to blockchain. Talking about startups versus big giants, we actually invested a lot of startups, and we get close cooperation deals with. Startups are becoming rationalized. Last year, we see a lot of companies validating themselves based on only concepts. For example, blockchain is a popular concept, so they can produce very simple products without any actual value. It's mainly to boost the valuation of the company, but now it's cooling down. It's becoming rationalized, and Baidu want to work with the companies who pay attention to the value of the application, who pays value to who pay attention to the technology.
Great. We have a few minutes left. I would love to turn to the audience to see if there are questions there. I think there's one right there in the fourth row. Can you get a microphone? There's one coming.
Hi, I'm Dean Wright. I'm former ethics and standards editor at Reuters and now an independent consultant advisor to CCTV Plus. And I confess I come to blockchain with perhaps a less than minimal understanding of it, perhaps like many other people in the room. So if this question is hopelessly naive or dumb, I apologize. Some panelists have talked about how media business can use blockchain. I'm wondering how working journalists might be able to use blockchain. And I'm wondering, after just listening to the last response, if a working journalist might be able to use blockchain in a way, in news gathering, in a way that could guarantee the authenticity of the information that a person's gathering, that a journalist is gathering, perhaps especially using in social media. And if that's not the case, how are some other ways that a working journalist might be able to use blockchain?
Great question. Is this just a question for is blockchain just a tool for people at the monetization end of a media company, or can blockchain actually be a tool for a working journalist?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I think it's a very, very good question, and there are different ways to answer it. First of all, I think it's important that we start to separate or to remove the word blockchain from a solution, right? Like today you use the internet for pretty much everything, but you don't think about it. So it has become transparent. So for blockchain to succeed in the near future, solutions have to mature in a way that end users might not know they're using a blockchain-based solution. That is one way to think about it. The other way is that the blockchain provides you with some very complex yet very beautiful potential solutions around, for example, game theory, whereby you can apply solutions that will provide penalties and rewards to good actors and bad actors. So personally, we are working on a fact-checking engine that precisely will do that. So you could submit a piece of content and people will have incentive to answer correctly or incorrectly, depending on being a good or bad actor. But the end result should be for you as a journalist to be able to obtain a very quick answer to a very basic question that could help you to go to market faster. So it can be applied for solutions like that, indeed. Yeah. It's very well suited.
Great. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, there in the second rank, John Lee. Yeah.
Hello. It's often said that there's an issue with blockchain in the amount of basically computational power and ultimately energy that it requires and consumes. And I wonder if people feel that there's a long-term solution to this problem now, or whether, in fact, the scalability of very large-scale application of blockchain solutions is going to be problematic at some point, the scalability and sustainability of it.
I think that's a great question. We already read about these huge Bitcoining mines in areas that are cold because they don't have to use cooling to calm down the computers. They're bigger and bigger chips. Zhang Yifeng, what do you think about that?
Okay, I'll try to answer that question. In fact, starting from Bitcoin, the blockchain technology has been in development for almost 10 years. But over this 10 or 9 years, the technology has been making progress almost constantly, and now there have been many sub-routes of development. The energy consumption issue that you just spoken of mainly relates to early application of a POW supply chain. Bitcoin is one of the examples. The reason why it needs so much energy consumption is because blockchain has the ability to create a trust mechanism, but projects like Bitcoin is completely happening on a decentralized platform in an effort to reconstruct the network. Take for It feels like we're trying to build a building of a trust in a desert, which means it has to find an anchor. But the only anchor it can find is its computing power and the hardware equipment, which is why now I understand that there's a lot of skepticism over the energy consumption issue in relation to blockchain technology that is represented by Bitcoin. But the truth is, since 2015, we have seen new development, the emergence of new branches. This is what we call the permission-based branches, permission-based application, which means there has been the development of an algorithm that does not have to rely solely on computing power to achieve what we need. For instance, algorithms such as PBWP, it is no longer solely relying on computing power, which means it's not going to be as energy intensive. Another example, Ethereum, it is also trying to move from POW to POS, and this algorithm will no longer rely it is not going to be as energy intensive as the Bitcoin mining technology. So as you can see, the blockchain technology has been evolving, especially along with the development of an algorithm. So we have always been hoping for the blockchain technology to move towards a more environmentally friendly.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. All I would say in conclusion is that I, with my white hair, I remember well in the 1980s when the internet started to be a thing, and people in newsrooms would say, "Oh, this is too complex, this is too technical, this has nothing to do with my job." And those people now are out of jobs. I would suggest that Bitcoin, blockchain, applications to media are very much the same, that you may feel intimidated now, but it is worth putting the effort into trying to understand at least the basics, because 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I feel pretty sure it will be part of every media company's life. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schlesinger. Absolutely important topic, and I'm happy that we discussed this topic, which will be important to us from today on, maybe at an increasingly fast speed. They outline the different possibilities new technology is unveiling to us, and indeed one of our co-organizers, CCTV Plus, has been trying to use cutting-edge technology to build a win-win news-sharing platform. Next, we're going to have a signing ceremony to add new members to CCTV Plus news sharing project. Now, the system was put in place to better integrate contents, to enhance the efficiency of content dissemination, and provide the most comprehensive and authoritative China-related content to global media in the quickest way possible. What they do is they unite local media, including provincial and city TV stations, to help them build a website, a mobile application, and customer server client software across multiple platforms, so that they can provide live broadcast signals to the overseas media anytime, anywhere. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's enter on our next item on the agenda, a signing ceremony. 接下来我们就正式进入福建省广播影视集团与央视国际视通通讯社签约仪式。首先，让我们有请签约见证嘉宾上台，他们是中央电视台新闻中心外语频道总监江和平
，Mr. 江和平 from CCTV, Chairman of CGTN and President of CCTV Plus, 滕云平。Chairman of Fujian Media Group, Zheng Qianghui. Please come onto the stage to bear witness to this event. And now I would like to also to invite up the two leaders to sign the ceremony. And they are Vice Chair Ye Qiongbiao from Fujian TV, and also Mr. Gao Wei, General Manager of CCTV Plus. And I would like to ask our members to bring the contract onto the stage.
Signing, the Fujian Media Group will officially become a member of the news sharing project spearheaded by CCTV Plus, which means in the future, anything that happens in Fujian, any live signals will be transmitted very efficiently to global media, which are partners with CCTV Plus. If you want to watch anything that happens in Fujian, then watch what they are saying, well, on top of what the Western media says as well. Okay, the warmest congratulations to CCTV Plus and Fujian Media Group. 好，请曾总留步。我们接下来要有请内蒙古广播电视台副总编朝鲁巴特尔上台。Next, we're going to witness the signing ceremony of the Inner Mongolia radio and TV station becoming a member to CCTV Plus News Sharing Project. 有请。好，请我们的工作人员将合同送到台上，谢谢。Again, same idea for news stories happening in Inner Mongolia in the future. You'll be able to see it live from CCTV Plus's news sharing, video footage sharing platforms. The warmest round of applause to congratulate the Inner Mongolia radio and TV station and CGTN Corporation. 好，我们一起合影留念。我们是不是站到这个台子前面来？谢谢。Let's remember this memorable moment. 好。让我们再次用热烈的掌声祝贺他们。A warm round of applause to congratulate all of them. Thank you very much. 好，谢谢。感谢各位。好，请回到座位。Okay, now we're going to the first tea break, the only tea break of this morning. Again, if you are looking for the red pepper ice cream, now is the final opportunity to have a taste of it, and the salted duck egg ice cream. After that, my colleague He Tianran will be presenting 3 case studies, so do come around in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you very much.
Good morning and welcome to the CGTN Global Media Summit here in Chongqing. As you just saw, the guests are streaming out of the auditorium because it's their tea break in the second day morning session. And I am joined by Greg Beichman from CNN. Thank you so much, Greg, for joining me.
Not at all. Good morning.
First of all, maybe we can talk about a little of your career. You've been all over the world working for Reuters and also in Japan, in Singapore, in India, I think.
Yes.
Could you run us through some of the highlights, maybe?
Sure. Well, look, I began my career in journalism, and I worked for a long time in news agencies. I also worked for the U.S. broadcaster for a short while. And I was very fortunate to sort of begin my career, I think, when, although the internet was around, it wasn't really stealing all the attention that it does today from people who consume news content. So I was based in Hong Kong for a few years, in Tokyo with Reuters, managed to get to North Korea. I spent some time in China, and I lived in India actually for 6 years, where I launched a television channel there as part of a joint venture. And that was a very interesting time in India because the media environment had just opened up, and sort of when we got there were 5 or 6 news channels. By the time I left, I think there were 90. So tremendous growth that went on in India when I was there, building these kinds of platforms. And later I moved back to Reuters in London and then joined CNN. And my sort of migration was from being really a field journalist. I worked all over, I covered some conflicts, but I really moved from being sort of a field person into really thinking about why we do what we do, who do we do it for, and why do we do it the way we do it as journalists. So for me, those meta questions were really, really interesting, and I think the answer to that was, right, you know journalism well, but what about looking at the commercial side and how do we monetize this product, and how do we really think about how it becomes a sustainable business over the long term? I think that's kind of the piece that's kept me involved in news and involved in the media industry, is trying to think about how do we build a sustainable future for journalism and media in a world where there's so much content, there's so much choice.
And here in Chongqing, for the Media Summit, then that has been one of the themes, how to bring traditional and new media platforms, for example, together, and how to make that work as well as to monetize it and make it work commercially. What have your impressions been of the summit so far?
Look, I think the summit has been really exciting for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's happening in China, and no matter what anyone here thinks, they might think China doesn't get enough coverage outside of China, or they might feel that there are voices here that aren't heard. I would argue the opposite. China is very much a focus of global attention at this stage, and I think there's a real hunger for information about what's going on here, and I think that extends very much into the evolution of Chinese media. So whether that's traditional media like CGTN, agencies like or CCTV, or agencies like Xinhua, I think there's a real hunger to understand the direction they're taking, and also the digital platforms that are here. Folks like Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, and others, who are all here. I think that makes this kind of unique, because there's a real, I think, interest in understanding the dynamic that's at play here. It echoes what we see outside of China, but there's just a real information gap. So having everyone here in the room is quite exciting. I think it's a big opportunity to begin to understand the challenges, the opportunities that we have both inside and outside China with respect to traditional media, traditional storytelling, and the digital platforms that we all have grown to love so much.
And also, we were speaking earlier, just the fact that we're here in Chongqing, you found very exciting because you hadn't been here before. How have you enjoyed your time here, and what's really stood out for you?
Yeah, I think it's very easy when you do business in China, which is something that I do, to spend time in Shanghai, spend time in Beijing, maybe in Hong Kong, and you get obviously a sense of those cities, which are large urban centers with their own cultures and fabulous cuisine. I've never been into central China. I guess Chongqing is almost western China, but I've never been here before, and it's very exciting to come and realize, there are 30 million people in this city. It's half the size of the UK, which is where I live. It's a massive place with its own culture, its own economic power. To see that they've launched a media center, to see that they've got a big international airport, it just kind of speaks to the tremendous growth and development that China's gone through. Also had a chance to sample some of the local cuisine.
You had some hot pot, right?
Big fan of hot pots. In any case, we've got a lot of that in London right now, and it was fantastic. I had both a hot pot and a late night barbecue on the street. So it really felt like I got a taste of the flavors of Chongqing.
Yeah, you had a busy day yesterday, right?
Indeed, indeed.
And so you mentioned Chongqing, 30 million people, a huge economic growth as well, and it's also a unique city to look at and fascinating to walk around. Are those the kind of stories about places like this that maybe people in the US and around the world don't know about China that CNN hopes to tell?
I think for CNN and arguably for CGTN and other platforms, there's a story to tell around China, which, in my opinion, and I know this personally because I've got some family members studying here, hasn't been fully told. I think there's still a sort of older view of China, a view that it is not as developed and maybe as open as people might think it is. There's not really a deep understanding, and if you think about culture and the communication that goes on, it is a lot of Western culture, American culture that's transmitted around the world. I think the knowledge around China really isn't that deep, and yet there's tremendous growth and development here, there's tremendous culture, there's cooking, there's media, there's so much going on here in technology that you can barely cover it, I would imagine, in your role. So I think that's a real opportunity. I think from the CNN perspective, we've done a lot of storytelling here. We have a product called Great Big Story, which has done a lot of in-depth storytelling around things going on in China. And we also have our regular platform, so we do cover it well. But I think there's more we can do. And who knows, maybe that'll be a partnership with somebody or not. I think all of us can do a better job of telling the story of what's happening in China, because it's tremendous.
One of the big trends in China in media terms is that of short video at the moment. There's lots of platforms where I was on the streets of Chongqing a couple of days ago. We met a magician who had 4 million followers.
Yeah.
He was enormous. People recognize him on the street, and he's just a regular guy who happens to do some card tricks. How do you think those kind of platforms, which are getting so much attention, can coexist with traditional media? Do they have can they work together, or are they completely separate?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Those platforms are doing things that they do. They're building audience share. They're very easy for users to interact with. They do a number of things which are quite special and attractive. On the other hand, they're not things that traditional media can't do. when we think about those platforms at CNN, we sort of use them for distribution and reach, but we don't really monetize those audiences very well. It's very hard because they need to make their own money and we need to make ours. So it's sort of taking the pie of revenue that we normally have and splitting it up in different directions, and we need to be really conscious about how we do that and why we do it, and be really eyes wide open about it. But I do think there's an opportunity in short form video. It's what works on a mobile phone, so it makes complete sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much you're now looking towards what is mobile friendly, because that's the way everyone is increasingly consuming their news.
It starts on the phone, there's no doubt about it, whether it's news or entertainment content. The content experience starts on the mobile phone.
Okay.
And it's what you do after that that really matters, and I think that will separate the winners from the losers in the end.
Greg, thank you so much. I'm being told that we're going to wrap up and move on to your former colleague, David Schlesinger, for a quick chat. But thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you around.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to switch Greg out now and bring in David Schlesinger, former senior journalist at Reuters. He's just outside the booth at the moment, so Greg's going to grab his coffee. And David now works as the managing director of Tripod Advisors, which is a political consultancy with a particular emphasis on China. So we'll be talking about some of the trends that are going on in China at the moment, and also the things that he's seen here at the summit. He was the chair of a panel on blockchain, which if you were watching the live stream earlier, you might well have caught. I'm hoping to find out more about how blockchain can work in the media industry, because for me this is an unknown territory, so hopefully he'll have some wise words for us. He's coming in now. David, please take a seat. So David Schlesinger is here. Thank you so much for joining us. The founder and managing director of Tripod Advisors and former very senior person at Reuters News. I just mentioned that you were chairing the panel on blockchain.
Yes.
What did you make of that panel? What did you learn from it?
Well, I think blockchain is a really interesting phenomenon. I think I compare it a lot to the beginning years of the internet back in the 80s, when people in newsrooms were scared off by the internet. Oh, it's too technical, I do too much coding, this doesn't really have anything to do with me, I don't want to deal with it. And then those people are out of jobs, and the people who actually embrace the internet are in jobs.
Yeah.
It's very much the same thing with blockchain. People hear about blockchain, they hear about cryptocurrencies, they find it very complex, they worry about the mathematics, they say, oh, I don't do math, I don't care, I don't want to do it. And they're not learning. And in fact, blockchain is beginning to come into media, just as it goes into finance, just as it goes into agriculture, just as it's going to permeate society, I think. So if you don't learn about it now, if you don't get control of the basics, you'll be behind and maybe out.
I need to start learning fast. And also, if anyone watching wants to find out more, they should tune into your panel, which is on the CGTN website and the app, so they can learn more from there.
I hope they will. I mean, I thought it was a very good panel. So we had some practitioners. So we had Hakubo Toll, who runs a company called Hubi, which started as an ordinary media company, has now gone into blockchain in a big way, building a marketplace, building a scaling solution. We had Matei, who has a pioneer here in China, also has a company that does a lot of very interesting things, solutions for companies. We had someone from Baidu, and Baidu is beginning to explore the uses of blockchain within its encyclopedia business to manage IP rights, very important topic. We had an expert on the Chinese expert on cryptocurrencies.
Sounds like a fascinating work.
It was a great workshop, and I think people who watch can begin to learn some of the basics and have an idea of how cryptocurrencies, blockchain will begin to come into media just as they come into other parts of life.
I'll definitely check it out later. I'll watch back. And turning to the summit more broadly, what have been your main impressions, your takeaways from it? What stood out for you?
Well, the nice things about these summits is that it brings people together, and it gives CGTN and it gives CCTV Plus a chance to show what they really are about, which is a bridge from China to the rest of the world. So it's really all about telling China's story to the world, telling the world's stories in a more Chinese-oriented way, and then learning from foreign experts as well about new trends within media and within their industry. So it's always very good to bring people together, but it's also good to see what China's own companies are doing and what foreign companies are doing, and making sure these match up together.
So you're the founder and managing director of Tripod Advisors now. You used to work at Reuters. You have a keen eye on Chinese affairs. First, if I can ask you about media trends in China, is there anything that's really standing out for you as something a little bit different?
Well, I think one of the things you have to look at in China is the innovation that is happening and the melding of technology with media. When I look at a company like ByteDance, which does Toutiao, and the way they use artificial intelligence to personalize news. That's something that's not happening in the same way outside of China. You look at Weixin, WeChat, and how people are posting on WeChat and using WeChat as a news dissemination organ in a way that, again, doesn't happen in the same way. Mobile is something where China, I think, is light years ahead of other countries. So I really get excited when I come to China, when I look at the innovation that's happening and the marrying of innovative technologies with more traditional news and media trends.
You've been a China watcher, I guess you could call you, for a long time. You were chairman of Reuters China, I think.
Yeah, and I was the Beijing bureau chief for Reuters in the 90s, then Chairman Thomson Reuters China, and I've always tried to keep an interest in China.
So what's your perspective of how things have changed? I mean, from the 90s then, it's enormous, surely.
Yeah, so in the 90s when I was Beijing bureau chief, the problem was you couldn't get people to talk at all. Now I think the problem is you can't get people to shut up, and you have almost too much information, and it's very hard to separate what is good information and bad information, who are the true experts. So that to me is the tremendous journey that China reporting has gone on. It really was very difficult to get any information and any kind of sense of what was really happening in the 90s. Now you're just bombarded with information, sensory experiences, video, pictures, chat, talk, news. It's all there. So how do you actually separate what's important from what's not important?
And your company is a global risk company, is it fair to say?
Well, I call it Tripod because it's my three-legged stool of things that interest me. So one leg is China, and I do a lot of China-related work. One leg is media, and I do work with media companies. And one leg is startups. I work with a number of startups globally, all in the tech media space. Some of them have a China angle, some of them don't. But China is a major part of what I do.
What are the trends that people from maybe outside China should be looking for inside? We've been hearing a lot about the trade war recently. Is there going to be a solution to this? Is there a way forward that you can see?
Frankly, the trade war worries me a lot because it's not just a trade war. And I sense a real shift in sentiment in Washington, which is becoming quite anti-China and anti-Chinese. And I think that's quite dangerous. And also quite wrong. So I think it's really important for people to focus on specifics. If there are trade issues, solve the trade issues. If there are IP protection issues, solve the IP protection issues. But don't broaden it out to make it a generalized, let's be scared of China, let's be scared of Chinese people. That I think would be very wrong, not just for China and America, but very, very wrong for the world. Focus on the real problems, find real solutions to real problems, but don't broaden it out into just a generalized fear and scare tactic.
Yeah, it's a dangerous trend. We had a session yesterday about coverage of different countries and whether there's media bias in that coverage. What's your perspective on that and how it plays into, say the relations between China and the US at the moment?
I think there's just not enough mutual understanding or enough real empathy for what other countries are going through. So I think it applies equally to China looking at the United States as to the United States looking at China. That it's very hard if you're a journalist or if you're a consumer of media to get below the surface and to really understand what ordinary people think about, worry about, care about, dream about in their ordinary lives. And the more there is true understanding, the more I think the media will actually be better. When you start dealing in just comic book caricatures, then you come up with a very rough approximation of the truth.
So you think the media has a very important role in maybe telling more personal stories, more individual stories, more stories about people actually what's happening on the ground?
The media has to dig below the surface. Don't just rely on official statements. Don't just rely on rhetoric from top. leaders, but really explore what is society about, what are the true concerns of business people about IP protection, what are the true concerns about citizens about product safety, for example. Once you start to really dig down, you'll come to better mutual understanding.
There's been a lot of talk during this conference about the role of amateur journalists, amateur content, and how that plays into traditional media. Do you think this is an area where this can play a role? Like if, say, an individual in Chongqing is telling a story about their life here, do you think that will help to really tell the truth, give an honest perspective?
So I think the we media is a very interesting phenomenon. I think the problem or the issue is that to date, we media has been mostly about individual celebrity making. It's about much more entertainment than about true information. It's about things that go viral because they're cute or interesting or exciting. To get where you're suggesting it could go is difficult because you have language issues, you have attention span issues, you have just distribution issues of how you get people to see the content that really is important and interesting.
Sure. Do you think that traditional media can make more use of this kind of content, though? I know, as you say, a lot of it is entertainment based, but also a lot is kind of breaking news, be it a natural disaster or
absolutely
a building fire.
No, I think the barriers between traditional media, new media, corporate media, me media have to start breaking down, because if you keep those walls too high, you miss out very badly. Of course, the first pictures from a disaster will be from ordinary people with their iPhone. How do you verify that? How do you make sure it's a real picture? How do you make sure it's not faked? But once you do that quickly, using it and using that to break the speed barrier would be very liberating, I think.
Yeah, we were speaking to the Reuters head of video and content, John Pullman, yesterday about just this issue, and he was saying the lengths that Reuters goes to make sure these videos are accurate and verifiable. A huge process to do it quickly to still make sure they're breaking. I'm wondering if there's really these media companies are breaking down those barriers, though, or whether there's still too much. This is TV news, this is something different, and they're not seeing how to bring them together.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of resistance to truly breaking down the barriers. And part of that is about the business models. Most media companies are still struggling to survive. They're struggling to make money. They're struggling to figure out how to monetize. They're quite worried about what happens if they give too much credibility to outsiders. That threatens the business model even more. So I think a lot more thought has to come in to business models, and that brings us very nicely back to your first questions, because one of the great uses of blockchain in media will be around micropayments. So the blockchain will enable people to pay 1/100th of a cent to view a picture, for example, or to track IP rights in a way where the ownership of a picture is maintained from the person taking it all the way through the distribution, and they can get proper rights, and the rules around usage are embedded within the blockchain. So blockchain, the first thing we talked about, actually helps very much with the issue we just talked about, which is how do you break down the barriers, how do you avoid the rise of new media, me media, actually challenging business models. Well, it will challenge business models, but there are ways in which you can still ensure that people's rights are protected and people can get paid for their work. And though that, at the end of the day, is very important.
So it's really a matter of adapting.
Yes.
The blockchain you mentioned, I mean, it's a fascinating process. How far away are we from this being a mainstream issue? I mean, blockchain obviously is in use in the mainstream, but
it's in use certainly, but it's early stages. Developments happen very, very rapidly. How far away are we? 18 months, 2 years, 3 years? I'd say 3 years at the outside, but I would certainly imagine the next few years we'll really see some dramatic examples of usage, which I hope will start to become more mainstream.
So it's something that we will see. I mean, blockchain is something that's happening, but kind of behind layers at the moment. Is it something that we'll be aware of more in the years to come, and be able to see this is blockchain, this is what it does?
Well, I think the interesting thing is that there'll be a curve. So at one end of the curve, you will be aware of it, but then when it starts to really be important, you won't be aware of it at all. Just like today, we don't even think about the internet.
Sure.
That's how you look up things, how you write things, how you communicate. You don't say, oh, I'm going to go on the internet right now. No, you don't say that. You say, I'm going to look something up, I'm going to write an email, I'm going to communicate with someone. Blockchain will be just like that. In the first stage, you'll be very aware. Oh, now I'm using a blockchain application. But once it really starts to be embedded, you won't notice it at all. It'll just become part of the fabric of life.
Just a norm.
Yes.
And talking of technology, you've said you work with several startups in technology and media. What other trends should we be looking at? I mean, AI has obviously been an issue in media recently. Talks about Reuters uses an AI assistant now. People have been talking about robot stories.
Yeah.
How do you see that going?
I think the issue with robot stories is, for me, do you actually need them? A robot story can take a stock price and write a story saying the price of CGTN stock went up by 3 yen. But actually, just looking at the number, you can do that yourself in your head.
Sure.
Those kinds of stories, you might as well just not write at all. You don't need a robot story for them. Where I think it gets much more interesting and important is where technology helps you analyze huge blocks of data to understand your customers, to understand an issue, to take data, analyze it quickly, and then use that either in stories or in business to understand more deeply.
Yeah, talking to people from AFP and Reuters yesterday, then this is very much what they were saying. It can only be an assistant, a kind of a complement to help journalists, but ultimately the human needs to be writing the story to give it its heart and also give it its direction.
Yeah, there could be an AI-powered avatar instead of you asking me questions, but will it ever be good enough to pick up on something I say, change the question slightly, be aware of time, be aware of shifting things? Probably not. You could do it, but what's the point?
Hopefully not for 10 years or so. That would be fun. That would work out well for me.
Get you at least another 10 years in the job. Good.
So you're going to be hanging around for the rest of the summit. Anything that stands out for you? There's going to be some talk about TikTok and the short videos.
I mean, I think those are some of the things that in China are really interesting. TikTok is part of the whole ByteDance empire, using AI to really tailor content for people. Short video, very, very popular. How that fits in with mainstream news gathering, I think, is still an issue. But it certainly does take people's attention and take people's time, and so we have to pay attention to it.
Maybe the mainstream news needs to go to TikTok. I mean, with CGTN, we've got about 500,000 people on TikTok at the moment, and we're trying to take our news stories there to create short videos which tell that story. So maybe that's something that we need to do more as a mainstream media, go to the smaller platforms too.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
We'll see how that works out. But I think we're going to wrap up because the final session is about to begin. But thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
It's really a pleasure.
And make sure everybody watches your panel where they can go to the CGTN app and wind back on our live stream to a couple of hours, and they'll find you there. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was David Schlesinger. Earlier we had Greg Bachman from CNN Commercial. And we are now going to go back into the hall because the final sessions of the CGTN Global Media Summit in Chongqing are about to begin. Thank you very much for watching and enjoy the live stream.
I see war. The city is in ashes. Bombs are wake-up calls. Life is no longer peaceful. Pain is raging. I see disaster. Volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis destroy everything in an instant. But I see the undying hope in their eyes. Their love, hatred, sorrow, and felicity. I see you, your attitude of resistance and uncompromising. I see dispute. Conflicts have never stopped, nor has development. Trade is the bridge to all the world. I see science and technology, the lunar probe, speed towards the universe. Its rover will make dreams come true. The unknown is no longer mysterious. I see you, your faith in linking the world. I see nations. I see our fate. I see the facts because I need them. I need to know all the truth around us. I see you and me.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host and moderator for this session, host Tiran He, and also presenter of Travelogue on CGTN. Now, over the last few days, there's been a lot of information to absorb, and also I hope we've learned from our guest speakers. And I'd like to conclude the last part of this morning, and also the summit itself, with a series of case studies. And our following guests will be sharing with us 3 successful case studies on new media communications and building a news alliance. Now, a successful creative product often contains values and ways of thinking that are far ahead of the times. And today, with an emphasis on efficiency, people are preferring to absorb information in smaller chunks of time. And as such, short videos are becoming more and more popular. Our first case study is on TikTok, a very popular app here in China that focuses on short clips. And we'd like to welcome Mr. Yuan Xiang, the Executive Director of the Public Policy Institute at Beijing ByteDance Technology, to give us his talk. Thank you.
在离家最远的地方，在回家路上，在茫茫人海，在你身旁，在没有你的地方，在聚光灯下，在眼神中，在下一秒，在每一个属于你的故事里，在你认为的故事结局，在新的开始，在梦里，在离你心脏最近的地方，无论在哪里，美好都在你眼前。在抖音记录美好生活。
各位领导、各位嘉宾、各位媒体的朋友，大家上午好。很高兴代表字节跳动公司参加这次论坛。近2年
ByteDance technology. Over the past several years, short video has been developing very quickly. It has become a bright spot of the mobile internet industry. Short video as a new format has captured the essence of this time and has created unique value both for our industry and for the society, but of course along the way there has been a lot of new challenges that we need to respond to with science-based thinking and innovative ideas. First of all, this new era we are living in has created sound conditions for the rapid development of short video. As of June 2016, on the Chinese mainland, the total size of users for all sorts of short video platform has exceeded 594 million, accounting for 74.1% of all internet users. In a way, short video has become a phenomenon. All companies as a result are coming into this area. For mainstream media, short video has been elevated to a strategic level, and Douyin is one of the most viral short video product. It is a new product that was launched by ByteDance in September 2016. Over the past 2 years, every day there's about 150 million active users in China alone. Every month there's 300 million active users, and globally that number is 500 million. The rapid development of Douyin has been made possible by several factors. Firstly, it's because it's a very good idea. Our idea for Douyin is to help users record the interesting moments of their life, because now it has become apparent that people's pursuit of a better life has become a priority for the Chinese government. When people have interesting moments, they want to record those moments, share those moments with their friends, and Douyin is one of the most interesting ways to capture, present, and share those interesting moments for all users. Short video, at the same time, is a large platform that has provided a means or endless possibilities to record those very interesting moments in their life, a space for them to share their joy, to share their memory. And as a result of that, Douyin has inspired the innovative spirit of all internet users. So a platform like, as long as it is able to motivate people, engage the audience, it is only natural for Douyin to become a success. Secondly, Douyin became successful also because it has created a very interesting, all-encompassing ecosystem. As Zhang Yimou, a famous director in China, has said this about Douyin. He said, interesting things are likely to become popular. Content on a Douyin platform is considered interesting. They are often perceived as trendy, as fashionable. Videos about babies on Douyin have become particularly interesting.
Third, the technology is advanced on Douyin. Because of the support of ByteDance, we have achieved very good algorithms and realized them on the short videos. We combined the need of appreciating short videos together with the content offering, so the best content can always be pushed to the users. In that way, users are always find satisfied with our content. Fourth, we have accumulated a lot of positive energy on Douyin platform because of large influence. Government, media, and MCN organizations are joining us constantly, and they try to register official account on Douyin platform, and they deliver a lot of good content on the platform. So the content offering on our platform is balanced out. Fifth, we have very good team of operation and product. We have unified standards to design our products. We also pay huge attention to localization. We have universal product experience offering to the globe, and we also try to create content ourselves. But fundamentally, Douyin's fast development benefited a lot from the timing. First, economic development and policy support laid a solid foundation for our development. In this new era, people has constantly increasing need for a better life. The economic aggregate of China is ranking number 2 in the world, and it's keep growing. In 2012, it was only 54.04 billion, and in 2017, it's 82.71 trillion yuan. So, in 5 years' time, the growth was 53%, accounting for 11.5% of the total of the global economy back in 2012, and now it's 15.2%. Per capita GDP is more than $8,800 US. So we know when GDP per capita is between 5,000 and 10,000, technology and culture will develop very fast. In recent years, China issued a lot of policies to encourage the development of culture, art, and traditional Chinese culture, as well as economy. So short video emerged in this period of time. It records the colorful life of Chinese nationals, and it delivered a new form for us to appreciate life. It brings about a lot of visual experience and life experience. Second, internet and smart terminals provide us with very good infrastructure. 4G was commercialized in 2013. The speed went up and the cost went down. So video went viral. In 2015, we had many short video products available on mobile apps, for example, Miaopai, Meipai, and Xiaokaxiu. In 2016, we see a lot of short video companies developing even quicker than before, and BitDance emerged in that year as well. We provide a lot of setups or backgrounds for our users to shoot different kinds of videos. According to recent report, as of June this year, our mobile netizens has been 788 million in number, and the average of mobile internet has reached 98.3%. So mobile phone has become the new carrier of short video. It's a very good infrastructure for our development. The needs of netizens promoted the short video content transformation from tools into platforms. In the early stage, short video was more like a tool, and the influence is quite limited. Later, we have social plus short video. The new model was initiated by short video Douyin, and Xingnan Weibo also included short video in its content push, so it's becoming more attractive to the users. And suddenly, there emerged a lot of unique and attractive content on Weibo platform. So it's interactive, it's content plus community. More and more users would like to participate in this ecosystem. Fourth, AI technology empowered short video creation and distribution. Short video making is becoming active, and we have a very precise matchmaking between product and users. We use algorithms and precise distribution to increase the efficiency of content distribution. BitDance is the very first company to include AI technology into short video industry. There will be two advantages for us to do that. First, for creators, Douyin's algorithm can make sure there is equal opportunity to be provided by the product, by the platform, and also better content will have better chance of exposure, and the views, the number of views can also increase a lot, and it's more immediate, it's more time sensitive. Second, short video is the new driver of the development of mobile internet. Let me introduce to you the value of the industry of short video. We have 800 million netizens. Annual growth is below 7%. Every year there will be 50 million more people joining the internet. So population bonus is disappearing. With several years of high-speed development, 2016 the industry became rationalized. So we need to expand a new business and also find a new growth point. Short video emerged in these 2 years. It offers a new opportunity for the development of mobile internet, so it's a new bonus. Short video is the new distribution center for commercialization. In May 2017, for the first time, a short video consumption surpassed text and image consumption. And we estimate by 2020 the scale of short video market will reach 3.5 billion yuan. And for the community of short video, we have a very good atmosphere. People are willing to repost, so communication and transformation is happening very quickly in our community, and the relevance is very strong. So the conversion rate for advertising is also high, and it costs you a very little time to watch the video, so you can cover a lot more content with limited time, and also it can leave you great impression. So the potential for commercialization of short video will be gradually released. Second, the platform economy will promote innovation and entrepreneurship. Short video does not only provide a platform for people on average, it also provides job opportunities for us. On Douyin, there will be tons of short video content being generated, and for a single video, it can receive millions of likes and views. So we have a lot of opinion leaders or internet sensations emerged on this platform. They deliver content of adorable lifestyle and special skills. So we have a lot of PGC startup teams. The size of the team ranges from several people to several dozens of people, and more than 50% of the teams are realized break-even or profitable now. So it's a new way for the startups to make money. MCN also emerged of the popularity of Douyin. They are creators. They can deliver training sessions to individual creators. They also deliver planning, promotion, and marketing services. And they work with the short video platforms. Individual performers can sign contracts with MCN to become the full-time employee of companies like that. And the monthly income of the individual performance can range from 3,000 RMB to 30,000 RMB. Short video is also a new momentum to drive the growth of traffic. In the first half of this year, short video platforms represented by Douyin grew very fast. In the same period of time, the three huge telecommunication companies also achieved a lot. The 4G users in China will use more than 3 GB cellular data in 1 month time on average. So the growth rate is 153%. And for traffic revenue or traffic income, it's growing at high 2 digits. So for China telecommunications, the monthly cellular usage is 2.2 times than before, and the income generated from that reached 53.4 billion. For China Telecom, the traffic usage grew by 4 times, and China Mobile also has a very good performance on the same front. Short video is a new way to promote cultural prosperity and people-to-people communication. Because short video has very rich content, very creative content, and very fresh content, it brings people together. It becomes a new form for cultural creation and cross-cultural communication. Short video is innovating the way for people to record their life. Short video has become the new representative of the new business of cultural prosperity. It's offline plus online. It's platform plus individual. So good content can be distributed to a broad market. And short video, it's rooted in the grassroots. It reflects the pursuit of culture of people on average. So we record the video of cooking, dressing, and putting on makeup. So it's techniques and skills of doing day-to-day things. It's a new way to reflect our wisdom and intelligence. In the first half of this year, we launched a new slogan, and we open partnerships to global participants. In the top 100 ranking of lifestyle accounts for 40%, and the average views is 120 million, likes 6.55 million, and interactions more than 660,000. Short video has become a new channel of cultural communication. We try to make use of the advantage of community building, because short video platform is the combination of community culture and content creation. We initiated a lot of contests of content creation, very popular in some cities and especially on school campuses. Participants can create short videos in appointed time frame to demonstrate the scenery and the lifestyle of their localities, so they can adopt different perspectives to look at their day-to-day life. And in the interactions, we can deepen the understanding of people. So Douyin initiated a Peking opera contest. Participants can record a short video to demonstrate the charm of Peking opera.
There's also another challenge that is trying to promote the face-changing culture in the Sichuan opera. And within 2 weeks of that activity, over 2 million videos have been released to the platform with over 600 million clicks. Secondly, with the help of new technologies and a new experience, Douyin is aimed to revitalize the traditional Chinese culture. After all, this is a very interesting way to promote the traditional value. After all, in the past, when it comes to the promotion of a traditional value, there are a lot of difficulties. Not a lot of people were interested in it. There were not enough platform for it. But Douyin has addressed all that problem. For instance, Douyin has worked in collaboration with a documentary that is titled "If National Treasure Has the Ability to Talk," and then there's an activity that aims to present the treasury of China within 5 minutes to the world, and the scope of a presentation includes Chinese classics, ancient objects, folk music, martial arts, dance, calligraphy, traditional Chinese painting, etc. Third, I think short video has opened a window of opportunity for the world to learn about the Chinese culture. In the past, there were very limited channels for the outside world to learn about the traditional Chinese culture, so much so that the only impression they have on China is Chinese Kung Fu, Peking roasted dog, Confucius Institute, and Panda. But the short videos, in a very decentralized way, have found a way to document very little details, especially through the lens of Westerners in their daily life. As a result of that, little things in our daily life, such as the Chinese pancake, the stinky tofu, the rice noodle in Guilin, all those local delicacies have become better known by people outside China. And with the help of better product design, artificial intelligence, and localized operation, Douyin has also found a way to improve user experience, because now with most of the videos are embedded with light music, very lively content, a format that is much more easily received by overseas viewers. And as a result of that, now the sugar painting, a craft that is known as uniquely Asian to China, is better known, and there is even design that resembles Spider-Man, a well-known Marvel character. So it's fair to say that Douyin has created a platform for co-creation and sharing for all internet users from different parts of the world. And fourthly, short video is a new platform that advocates a social value. Firstly, it is a platform to promote an urban image in innovative ways. As we have found that there are 4 categories of content in Douyin that have become very well received. We used the abbreviation of a BECT, or BEST, to describe what they are. B stands for BGM, urban music. E stands for eating, which is about local food. S stands for scenery. And T stands for technology. Those 4 categories have become the 4 elements of urban environment. For instance, Chongqing, Xi'an, Chengdu, Nanning have been featured frequently in those videos, and in each of them there's BEST elements, and as a result of that, the popularity of videos featuring those cities have attracted a lot of online traffic. Take for instance Chongqing, Xi'an, Chengdu, 3 Chinese cities located in Western China, have accounted for 40% of all viral videos with most views. And now we are also working in collaboration with Xi'an, and we jointly introduced a plan that we call Dou Travel, a plan that has effectively raised the city's profile. Secondly, short video also helped bring the public attention back to the concept of a family. It has been noted that between the second quarter of last year and the second quarter of this year, Douyin videos that feature family element has increased from 134 to 24,749. The total clicks has increased from 98 million to 20.2 billion. And the number of thumbs up has increased from 2.65 million to 700 million. That is mainly because those short videos advocate the traditional value as the close, for instance, such as the closeness among family, how homey a family can be, and oftentimes family members can work together with each other to produce a very interesting short video. Those videos not just capture the interesting moments of their everyday life, but also help bring them much closer together. Thirdly, short video also act as a conduit to spread positive energy of our society, because there are a lot of videos that have captured the moving moments of our society. I understand now we live in a contemporary world where the pace, which is very fast-paced, very stressful, but under the circumstance, short videos, because they are very interesting, serve as a very interesting conduit for people to get relaxed. Young people in particular find this a very interesting way to entertain themselves and their family members. A lot of positive messages were sent through those videos. Fourthly, the emergence of a short video the convergence of a short video with traditional media is a very important way to restructure the media ecology, since media convergence has been prioritized by the national strategy, and now short video has become a critical element for all media organizations. For instance, the People's.com has introduced the People's Video. The Southern Weekly or Southern Weekend has also created its branch dedicated to short video, along with many other media organizations. As August the 15th, 2018, short videos have been featured in over 600 media organizations, of which 292 have been certified. And the total clicks, over 30 accounts have seen the clicks of their short videos to exceed 100 million. One of the good examples is Yitiao, and the other example is the Pair video, which was featured in our forum yesterday. Lastly, I'd like to say a few words about how do we create more value through short video in response to new challenges. But it seems that I'm already running out of time, so I'm going to skip this part. But in any case, an ethicist believes that by beautifying the content that helps keep people's life valuable, interesting, Douyin helps people see a positive aspect of their life in much more interesting ways, and also help them embrace a world that is featured by diversity, and we'll work even harder in the future to make sure that is the case in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yuan Xiang, for that wonderful insight to one of China's most successful apps in recent years. Now, development is inseparable from cooperation, and openness is inseparable from interconnection. Only through cooperation can we achieve mutual benefits. Last year, we saw the launch of the Belt and Road News Alliance, and after a year of cooperation and joint operations, 70 media members from 41 countries and regions across the globe have joined the BRNA. And earlier this year, CGTN and CCTV Plus co-produced a pilot Belt and Road special with Laos National Television and People's Television Network of the Philippines, entitled Vision into Reality, and hosted World Insight presenter Tian Wei. Now, CGTN is also expanding its international collaboration and co-productions, and as mentioned earlier, we have workshops situated outside throughout the day. So if you'd like to meet with any of our producers to discuss any future projects, please do so. Now, to talk about co-production and broadcast case sharing among the Belt and Road News Alliance, please welcome Mr. Edgar Reyes, Head of News, Public Affairs and Sports at People's Television Network of the Philippines, and Ms. Malaviang Vongchandi, Executive Producer of the English News Program at Laos National Television. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So first off, I'd like to ask, as both of you are members of the Alliance, what's your perspective on news exchange? Malaviang, maybe you could start first.
Hello. Hi. First of all, thank you for China, CCTN and CCTV Plus for hosting these global media gatherings. I'm delighted to be here, and thank you for inviting me. To answer your questions, what do I think about the new exchange? I think it's a good platform where, for example, being a member of the BRNA, we can help cooperate and to promote and to exchange information, among the members, especially for those countries who share the BRI,
Edgar, what's your take on news exchange?
The news exchange? I believe that the news exchange is an effective vehicle to tell our stories to the rest of the world. In the same breath that it is a vehicle for the rest of the world, for the stories of the rest of the world to tell to our people. I also believe that the news exchange allows member communities to communicate, to share their culture with each other, and to stay connected. This leads communities towards a more meaningful engagement beyond sharing information, but also sharing opinions and views, sharing ideas and ideals.
How does the Alliance benefit your organization? I mean, why did you join the co-production in the first place?
Well, the Belt and Road News Alliance, our news gathering plus the news gathering of the other members equals synergy. So I believe this alliance will give us the real information on the latest and true developments in the member countries of the alliance. We also believe that as the alliance grows, and so is the ease of sharing information, and so is the ease of communicating with communities, and so is the ease of waging war against misinformation, disinformation, and fake information. A strong alliance means a strong communication. A strong ties is based on strong communications.
Indeed. And how was the, what about for Laos National Television?
You mean after the airing the program?
For sure. No, how the alliance benefits your organization.
Oh, okay. I think it's really, really good, although this is the second year that we join the alliance. You see, we're beginning with the cooperation projects. As you may know that, as you may aware that Lao PDRs, one of the countries that we begin with the BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, the country is now being build the railway links, that is expected to complete within 2 years. And then it's good opportunities, to promote, and the exchange cooperations.
In the program, you interviewed the Vice Minister of Public Works and Transport in Laos, and Edgar, you interviewed the Consul General of the Philippine Embassy in China. What was your reasoning for choosing them?
Okay.
Or perhaps Edgar, yeah.
Well, first of all, we are more than happy to be part of this pilot program. We believe that this program is necessary, is needed to explain the Belt and Road Initiative, to explain to our people its benefits, to tell the projects being undertaken, the projects in the pipeline. The Belt and Road Initiative transcends infrastructure. It also touches on such sectors as trade and commerce, communication and education, banking and finance, people-to-people connectivity, cultural exchange, culture, and even sports. So we need somebody who knows the alphabet of BRI, who knows the projects being implemented by our government, and who has a better understanding of China-Philippines relations. One of the people who has these qualifications is Consul Olea. That's why we selected him.
It was a natural choice.
I would also like to point out that part of the program is our Secretary of Communications. I think he was able to tell to a wider audience the positive developments and gains in the Philippines.
And Malavian, what was the choice to choose the Vice Minister of Transport?
Yeah, right after I received the invitation letter suggesting or encouraging to join the co-production, the pilot one, the first person come up in my mind is the Vice Minister of Transport, again, His Excellency Latanamani Kunibong. Because the reason why I pick him, there are so many guest speakers out there from Laos who can well represent, who can talk more about our government policy or in connection to the BRI. But I believe that this Prime Minister is the most suitable person because he's the one who involved in from the very beginning, from the scratch. That's before the designing. Now the railway has contract is nearly 50%.
What was his feedback after watching the program?
It's very, very positive, very exciting, television is very charming, when we say that Silk and Road BRI or anything or what connectivity will bring to people, they may not able to see, but people, Lao National TV, we receive huge feedback from audience, right, very beginning when we air the trailer, and they say they believe, in what they see. It's really, really good, It's good.
And Edgar, how was the feedback from Mr. Olea? And indeed, there's been a number of comments on your Facebook page for the video. How has the public reacted to the program?
Well, Consul Olea welcomed the opportunity to express his ideas on the Belt and Road Initiative. He is more than grateful to that singular opportunity to tell to a wider audience the positive development in the Philippines. He also said that he received positive reviews among his peers in the international diplomatic community.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Before I let the two of you go, could you please describe in one sentence the BRNA co-production? It's a tough one.
I'll go first then. I'll go first. My one sentence would be conducting regular co-production activities based on win-win partner cooperations. Based on win-win partner cooperations. That would be my one sentence.
How about you, Edgar?
The co-production, a meaningful co-production, turning dreams into reality, turning dreams into action, vision into reality.
Great, thank you so much. Let's give a warm round of applause for Malavian and Edgar. Thank you. As members of the BRNA, I hope we'll collaborate on even more future co-productions. Thank you. Thank you. Now, let's move on to our third and final case study. After discussing media cooperation and new communication models, we'd like to focus again on a relatively new form of internet product, an MCN, also known as multi-channel networks. And giving us insight into the operating model of MCNs is Roger Lodwick, CEO of Zoomin TV. Welcome.
Sorry, I rather use a microphone than stand in front of a desk. Because we are a young company, not young in existence. We were founded in 2001 by two really visionary guys that already saw in 2001, when the internet was just starting, it's almost ridiculous to think about this, that they saw that the young generation was really interested in consuming content through this thing called internet. So they already started aggregating, back in those days, content from content creators that started to pop up. This was also seen by our current mother company called Modern Times Group. They're a broadcasting group, and they saw, all right, these guys are really appealing to young Gen Z audience, so we should actually start engaging with them and see how they can actually bring us into the new digital era. At Zoomin, we actually have, our DNA actually can be summarized in three things. We dare, we care, and we share. We're a Dutch company, so we're from the Netherlands, and Dutch people generally like to speak up. We speak up our mind, we speak up what we think about, and that's actually also what people think is really interesting about our company. And that's why also we are appealing to Gen Zs, because we dare to say what the topics are about that are interesting for them. But we also care about them, and I must say, Liu Xin, you said something yesterday which I remember very well. You said, these young people, why can only be an 18-year-old standing in front of a camera? We don't do that, and we are still very appealing to Gen Zs. Because we don't think it's so much about the actual person, so we don't use hosts in that sense. We use stories that are appealing to that group. People want to learn from older people, and not only from the young people. So there's a mix between those two that you need to have. They want to relate and also aspire to people that are older. But you can make great content, but if you don't share that content in the right way, you know, you're nothing. You're just a loss-making exercise. So we also need to share it. We need to reach those people, the people that most of the traditional broadcasting world are actually really struggling to reach, which are the Gen Zs, and our company reaches them. So how are we reaching the unreachable? It's a good question. I normally take two examples in that regard. One is on when we talk about sports. Generally, people will talk about sports and say, all right, we talk about football, tennis, golf. We don't. We really want to talk about topics that are interesting to our Gen Z audience. And that is X Games, ESL, DreamHack, exports. Same example can be made for entertainment. We don't talk about Tom Cruise or about Kardashians. We speak about the influencers that probably a lot of us don't even know, but have massive, massive followings. So that's how we reach those unreachable Gen Zs. The other point is this globe. We are globally relevant, and the reason why we can be globally relevant is because we have a network of 3,500 video journalists that are creating Gen Z stories for us. So they pitch us ideas, we pitch them ideas, whether it's from China, whether it's from Peru, America, Alaska, anywhere in the world, we can create a story within a couple of days. And that's a really great asset that we have. They make the stories, they send it to us in Amsterdam, And there we have a team of 150 people that are re-editing that to make it globally relevant. We're distributed in 110 countries, not only through our MCN, but also through our publishing network that we have globally. And that generates a massive amount of views, 3 billion views on a monthly basis. It's an astonishing number. But one of the other reasons is also that we still translate a lot of our content for local usage. So we translate at the moment into 10 languages. We don't use artificial intelligence yet for that, but we would be very interested from a cost point of view to look into that. But for us at the moment, it's really important to actually translate them and also engage with our platform, social media platform. So our localizers, they don't only localize the content, they also actually engage on our social media platforms with our audience to better understand whether they like certain topics or not. So they can actually influence our production team and say, these are topics that are really interesting for our audience. Now, you can create great stories, you can have great topics, but then to make them actually, people look at them. I mean, if I look around now in this audience, lots of you are on your phone, which is great, it's fine. I'm used to that. But to actually capture your attention, there's so many, you know, there was a gentleman before talking about TikTok. I think it's a great app. But the amount of time when I see people flicking through the content that is there, it's just, you need to have the ability to capture the attention of a person in the first, we say, 3 seconds. If it comes up. There we go, in 3 seconds. So in that time, the audience, the person that's watching will make up their mind, is this something that I really want to see? Is this something interesting that interests me? If that happens, then we say, there's another step, which is the 12. So in the next 12 seconds, you need to be able to justify to the person, is this really the thing that I wanted to see? And once you have actually reached that, we say you have them until eternity. Because that is actually the way how to build all our stories. You need to have them in the first 3 seconds, capture the attention, then tell the following 12 seconds of what it actually is about, and then finally they will finish actually the whole video. And that's obviously a key in this regard. One of our most successful formats is actually Local Heroes. It tells enriching stories about people from all over the world. And again, to come back to the topic, this is a mix. This is a mix of young people that people can relate to, but also 65-year-old retired people that are helping, that have a social relevance in society. So our Gen Zs want to learn enriching stories. And we did a partnership, or we are doing a partnership right now with Baidu, where we are creating amazing China stories. So stories from all over the world, from Chinese people that do something special, either for Chinese society, for culture, and we just made a short clip about that, which we want to share with you. So this is about short form stories. So stories that are up to, let's say, 3, max 5 minutes long, that are very interesting for our audience. And one of the things that most people will say is that Gen Zs are moving away from the TV or from the big screen. That's true. They are, and they will be more looking at short form. But still, we feel that there's a massive market opportunity for Gen Zs on the longer form stories. One of the great examples that we actually are producing right now and finalizing is a production that we are doing together with Tencent Video about drones. You know, you need to be able to create stories and content that's interesting for this audience. Otherwise, indeed, they will walk away and they will not watch the whole thing. This is one of the, every time I look at this picture, it's giving me goosebumps. It's above a volcano in Ethiopia, and we did this production is 6 episodes long, 25 minutes each episode, about drones all over the world. So the big wall, the Yellow Mountain, the Shenzhen towers, in Indonesia, Ethiopia, it goes all over the world. So we really use our VJ network to actually produce this. And again, this is a video conference, so I would love to show a little bit about what we did there.
最顶尖的竞速无人机飞手，
一起飞的时候压根就看不到他的飞机的影子。
将正面交锋，肯定想拿第1名。
排名靠后的2位选手将被淘汰。
这是一项全新的极限运动，智慧和技巧较量。
哦，差点撞到了。
速度与勇气比试。7位顶级选手，
我当然想赢。
成功晋级的人将经历一段超乎想象的旅程。
你那个人物太夸张了，
经验，
全没了，不去了。
想象力，一往无前的决心，
对我来说也是一个挑战。
6场巅峰对决，谁能战胜自己？
继续加速度去追海。
谁才是最终的王者？
所有选手准备，3、2、1，起飞！
Yeah, I think the best thing is actually to stand up here and to see when I'm talking that you guys look back on your phone, and when I actually show something really cool from us, you're all looking. So that's the best example of actually our content. So I think we show now that we can do the short form and the long form. But I think the biggest challenge that any MCN, any content production company will have going forward is actually this. We're zooming into the future. See if this works. Because slowly there's a lady coming in. So this is the content that already for Youku we are producing verticalized. I think if people keep on saying they will keep on producing in 16:9, they're more or less saying the same that the newspapers were saying in the 1990s or 80s. You know, this internet thing, you know, people will keep on buying newspapers. They will, but the audience will be older. And now people don't want to be doing anymore this. So for us as a company, as a content production company, as a content, an MCN, we are going in 2019 produce both. For every single video, we are going to produce it both in 16:9 as well as in 9:16 or verticalized, as you want to say it. Because this is the future, and if you're not ready for this, I don't think you'll have a long-lasting life going forward. We're very keen on also sharing that here in China. Therefore, thank you very much for your attention, and thank you.
Thank you, Roger, for that fantastic insight into your company. Let's take a seat.
Sure.
So at this stage, I'd first like to open the floor to any questions anyone may have for Roger Lodwick here. Okay, well, while they mull over their questions, I've got a number of things I'd like to ask you. So it seems like you're not a traditional MCN. A lot of traditional MCNs mostly focus on KOLs and influencers, but you're also branching more into the video production side. And what are you doing that's helping you to keep profitable? Because a lot of MCNs go bust within their first couple of years.
Yes, well, I think that's exactly one of the things we identified quite early, is the dependence that you have on actually other content creators. First of all, you depend on what kind of content they create, when they create, and they could leave your platform anytime that they want. If they get a better offer somewhere else, they could go themselves. And we actually realized that we are actually very good at creating a lot of content ourselves. So by also expanding our focus to other traditional media companies or to other publishers, we also made sure that we are ready for the future. And you see it also, more and more MCNs are focusing on high quality content. And our content is not shot with a phone. It's shot with a nice HD or 4K camera by professional people. And more you see that MCNs or platforms like Baidu, they want to go into high quality content, because user generated content is very important to create relevance, but then to make that next step to premium quality, I think that's what we identified to be the next step for us as a company, to create relevant Gen Z content.
And you have bureaus all across the world. You're actually the largest MCN in Europe.
Yes.
But 2 years ago you came to China.
Yes, because China is, I think for us, the first time I remember very well, the first time that I came here, and it's also my last slide that you saw, the verticalized, it's actually really inspired by China. I think the Chinese youth are so much further on the technology side than the rest of the world. The adaptation that you guys have, the consumption that you have through the phone, and particularly in this way, it creates a lot of opportunities for us to create partnerships. Like I said, we have them with Baidu, with Tencent, with Youku. They really see that the content that we're creating is relevant for that young audience, and that's something special that, as a Dutch company, we're good at.
Did you have to change your strategy to deal with the different market here in China?
No, not really. I think there is a stronger demand for Chinese content. So Chinese relevant content, really produced, like we said before, with the Amazing China stories. I think that's a great example. I think it's also a great example of how that content can go outside of China. We had a discussion before with another party, and they said, you know, how can we get our Chinese content to travel around the world, which is obviously part of also this forum. And I think the short form content that we are producing is also really relevant outside of China for non-Chinese speaking people. So I think that's a really great way of showing that there's a global relevance for content from outside of China to go in, as well as vice versa.
Indeed. I'd like to once again reach out to the audience if there's anyone who'd like to ask Roger any questions regarding MCN or his business model and his expertise in general. Please raise your hand if you do. Gentleman over there, if someone could give him a microphone. Could you please introduce yourself and the company that you represent?
Hello there. Hi, Adrian Wells from Enex. Just on this point about MCNs versus...
by the way, you were yesterday on the panel, right?
I was, yeah.
And I thought you actually made a few very good points.
Let's see if that trend continues. So I'm just interested, the whole idea of MCNs is that you're bringing people who are creating their own content and, you know, giving them a platform and adding a professional layer of TV production, if you like. But it sounds from what your company is doing, you're actually just a really good regular production company who is making great TV. So I just wonder, where does the dividing line between MCN and traditional TV production?
That's a very good question. I think for us as a company, we identified that the MCN model as a model by itself is not a long-term model for us. So therefore, with also the support from our mother company, we really recreated actually the content that we're producing. So I think to go onto traditional TV, you need to be high quality content. And the other thing is that most of the user generated or influencer generated content is vertical. And you know, that is one of the things that a TV is not. So that doesn't work yet on TV. So I think that's one of the main reasons why we also said we need to produce it in both ways, because we're catering for both audiences. I was speaking before with Maxime about indeed how it works with the move from us from digital actually also to going back to traditional, and that's one of the things why we have the luxury of having a broad Gen Z audience, which is obviously the traditional TV doesn't really have so much anymore. So we can bring back, we feel, some audience back to linear TV by doing the things that we do by creating relevant Gen Z content.
Thank you. Any more questions for Roger? Over there in the back.
Hello, Mr. Lockwick. I'm John Lee from Macau, TDM. You mentioned about global relevance. Can you talk a little bit more about that? You said you have 150 people in Holland doing that. Thank
yes.
you.
Yeah, sure. So our editing facilities are in the Netherlands. And what we do is we look for great stories from all over the world, because the beauty of our target group, Gen Zs, is that they face globally the same issues. So they, you know, as a young person, you go through changes in your life. You have the same issues a person in Peru has, as the same person has in the Netherlands or even in China. So a lot of the topics are very globally relevant. So our VJ network, our video journalist network, pitch ideas to us, or we pitch ideas to them. So we can hear about, I always take the example of a Peruvian mountain village where the kids have to go to school through, you know, a cable cart and go there. We can create that story in a couple of days because we have that network. And the issues that those people are facing can be quite often relating to also other people around the world. I think one of the inspiring stories that I personally think was great is from and I'm looking at Liu Xing again, was the 65-year-old person that here in China that is preventing, it's a bit a sad topic, but preventing people from jumping down a bridge. And it's such an emotional story that is relevant to all over, and the content that we create should be a positive spirit, because you know, our second DNA is care, because we want to care about our Gen Z audience and want to give them something that they can actually absorb and maybe use in their own daily life, which maybe they don't see amongst their friends, items that they maybe don't realize that are existing in the world and that they can actually, you know, use in a way to benefit their own views.
Thank you. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions if anyone would like to grab this opportunity. Okay, now there's actually a question I wanted to ask, going back to your point earlier about long form. Now, I think it's a question that's burning on the mind of many people with all this media convergence. How do you get the younger generation, Gen Z, to get back into long form entertainment, specifically television?
Well, I think those are two questions in one, because getting them to look long-form content is a different thing than getting to look long-form content on TV. I think getting them to look long-form content is making the content relevant for them. I think sometimes, let's say, adults can say, well, this is relevant for Gen Zs, and we did a very extensive study ourselves to really look into what Gen Zs really are interested in, and you can actually divide them in two groups, because the topics of somebody until 17 are different from somebody from 17 till 24, because there are different, development in their life, different stages. So it's one thing of the content creation, of making that content, long-form content, interesting. A topic like drones, I mean, the moment that we put it on, I saw everybody here all of a sudden looking at it.
It was like being in Ready Player One.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you can make that content relevant for them, they will look also at long-form content. To bring them back to TV, I think that's a different story, and that's also part of how traditional TV is using that, because I think still there are certain shows or certain series that people will also consume together with their parents on TV to create still that joint family feeling. But it becomes rarer and rarer, and I think the parents need to give in on the topic that is being watched, and rather the other way around.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions for Roger before we wrap up? Right over there, our last question today.
Thank you. Marco Tenerello, CEO of Eurovision Services, part of the EBU. First of all, an apology. I was one of the guilty parties looking at my phone and only looking up when the video was on. In my defense, I was looking up some of the terms you were using. My question is this. Generation Z at some point grows up. What happens to Zooming TV at that point? What's the future longer term?
Well, I think it is, I think the target group for us remains the same. For us, it's people under 24. So Gen Z is the terminology that we right now identify as, or classify as people under 24 years old. For us, it is still that younger target group. So you can say 24 and below. I don't think you need to use them as Gen Zs. So for us, we need to keep on developing. Like I said, for example, how we are delivering our footage. More and more people will consume that, and that's why I also say traditional media should also look at this, because you're right. People who are now 16, 17, at one point will be above the 24 age, and then will still be used to consume their content in a particular way. And to keep on forcing them to do something else, is not the right thing. So to come back to your original question, for us, it's 24 and below will remain our target group. So we need to keep on developing ourselves to be able to serve that target group.
Thank you, Roger. I think that's all the time we have today for our case studies. Thank you so much for your insight into MCNs.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think from our case studies today, we've found an overall theme of evolution from short clips and their extreme levels of stickiness to our Belt and Road News Alliance and to the evolution of multi-channel networks. I'd like to thank our case study speakers for sharing their invaluable insights to us, and I hope that we've all been able to learn from their success. And now that's all the time we have for this section. I'd like to hand us all back to our very capable host, Liu Xian.
Thank you very much, Tianran. That was a wonderful job, and you actually don't have to go off the stage because we're wrapping up everything.
Oh, okay. I wanted to give it to you.
Well, it's fine, it's fine. It's a pleasure to stand with you next on stage. I'm not part of the Gen Z, but I'm the Gen F. Guess what is Gen F?
I actually don't know what happens after Gen Z either, so
don't worry about that. Gen F, I term it as Generation Fabulous. How about that? I tell you guys, don't always just look at the Gen Z. I tell you, 17% of the Chinese population by the end of last year is already 60 and over. And guess what? They are the ones who have the money.
Because I think Roger may have to do a new MCN for the 60 and over.
Yeah, call them Generation W. Generation Wisdom.
Right,
how about that?
Right, okay. I was thinking withered.
Anyway, it's been very inspiring for me. I don't know for you. I hope it has been useful for all of you. And unfortunately, we're going to wrap up the second CGTN Global Media Summit and the 8th CGTN Video Media Forum. I hope you have all found it worthwhile, and you as well. Maybe next year you come back with us?
I've managed to learn a lot. I learned that I'm a lot older than Generation Z, and that I need to start viewing my content in vertical mode. It's something that we learn all the time.
Don't worry. Yeah, we all have to evolve with the time, but we'll make it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful lunch break. And the forum continues. There will be the workshop. There will be the General Assembly of BRNA. So enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your stay in Chongqing. And I hope to see you next year at the same time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.